is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Formally, the final round of the Formula One calendar. This track holds a special place in memories in so many drivers and fans alike. Who can forget Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost 2 years in a row? Who can forget the Michael Schumacher charge through the back? But when it talks iRacing, when we're at Mie Prefecture, when we're at Suzuka International Racing Course, and with qualifying underway, you know that this is going to be a very, very telling race. 3 rounds left before the end of the season. Qualifying underway on the iRacing Esports Network. Jake Sperry, Jonathan Simone, brought to you with RaceSpotTV. And Johnny, this is the track which you call the Red Bull track. It's the track which high downforce rules supreme around here. But qualifying is going to be so telling. Kroenke is currently fastest.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. The interesting part about this track, as you mentioned, that it is very technical, setup-driven, driver-driven as well. Narrow racetrack, minimal runoff areas. But also, if you think about it, they've only had 1 week of practice from last round to this, so less time to get the car ready. Those teams with bigger numbers will have more drivers as dedicating time to testing and approaching this racetrack. What's interesting now, Jake, is qualifying track conditions, 26 degrees Celsius. Most drivers have been preparing for a hot race here today. We're going to see quicker conditions. Who's going to adapt to that in this qualifying session? Who indeed? Josh Rogers in the 92 then, making his way to the line to set his first flying lap time, 1:30.291. He goes 4th. As things stands, the championship could not be any more interesting right now. 29 points splitting Martin Kroenke and Mitchell de Jong, the 2 teammates who need to make things work. And then it's about 110 odd back for Gregor Houtu in 3rd position. We're on board, though, with the 5-time champion Gregor Houtu, looking to set his first flying lap into this beautiful Turn 1, Turn 2. Bravery is tested at every single moment as you make your way now through this wonderful sweeping S's section. Slower and slower as you go. And Johnny, this has not traditionally been the Gregor Houtu track. He has not finished in qualifying inside of the top 5 in the last 2 seasons. Is this what you'd call a bogey track for Gregor Houtu? It could be. Race pace could be a different story. And he's currently struggling on this qualifying lap. The car just isn't gripping together. Almost beaches it on the curb there at the first Degner. One of the most difficult corners in all of motorsport around the world. Tough braking zone here at the hairpin. And you don't want to lose traction there. You don't want to heat up the tires, or else you'll struggle through this straight. Drivers have had trouble keeping the car on the tarmac through this straight. The tire model in iRacing, not friendly at all. Here he is through Spoon Curve. You want to ride the curves just slightly, turn in earlier than you think through the second part of Spoon, and then this long straight to 130R, Jake. Right now, he'll be looking at his deltas. He'll know it's not the best lap time here around, and that could get into his head, because as you mentioned, he's had 2 years here where he's qualified outside the top 10, both years going for the championship. Evan Ellis Jr. moves up into 3rd. Yao Vaz for Orion Race Team now into 4th position, but here comes Houtu looking for the line, and he will abandon his first lap. Pressure. Davide Corps moves himself up into 3rd with a fantastic qualifying effort as Marcus Jensen moves into 4th right now. Pash Jurgis up into 4th now here, the new Coanda boy. Yeah, and good stuff for Pash in his 2nd race for Coanda. Davide Corps, so that's even more impressive. We never see Davide Corps up there in the top 3, and a great performance by him. Here's Mitchell de Jong now. He hasn't set a time. What you saw happen to Gregor, as Mitchell there set 2 rapid sector times, Gregor had an off track here at this final corner, and he had to abort the lap, otherwise he'd receive a penalty. Well, the lap wouldn't count anyway.
Mitchell de Jong smooth on the traction. That's been the Coanda signature at Suzuka. Just smooth on the throttle. And Mitchell de Jong only P2, but the front row for his championship challenge.
Front row, so the title contenders P1, P2, and it is a Coanda 1-2-3 with Peter Berryman in 4th position, Antoine Higeland in position 5, having a fantastic qualifying by his standards. Has been a little bit out on the wayside for the last few rounds, hasn't shown maybe some of the potential that he has had, Johnny, but certainly a welcome return to form by the Apex driver.
Yeah, Antoine Higeland, he's still young, he's still hungry, and he's definitely putting in a lot of work to improve. And he's in an up-and-coming team, definitely the second strongest team this season behind Coanda. Hutu has really been a one-man team for Redline. You can't really classify him in that. As we look at Rogers here through the difficult section, that are the Degner curves. And again, the hairpin right now, it's almost so difficult because during the race, they'll be qualifying while turning. You don't want to lock up that front right heading into the corner. And then he takes a tight line here on the run down to Spoon. It looks easy, Jake, but I can tell you the drivers have been struggling just to keep the car on the tarmac once those tires heat up.
Yeah, they certainly have been, and Josh Rogers proving that even coming out of Degner. Jamie Fluke moves up into 4th position, a 129.917. So it is Coanda 1-2-3, Apex 4-5-6 as things stand. So really a two-horse race. Gregor Hutu still yet to set qualifying time, the only red line car. But here's Rogers for Burst Esport, making his way to the line, out to the Casio Triangle, final corner, trying to just be as gentle as possible, making his way over 130.120. It's a welcome jump, but only one that puts him at best 8th position, Johnny.
Yeah, not good enough for Rogers, and so he's got a lot of time to make up. Well, I think that's it for him for qualifying, isn't it? So that he will not start any greater than the 8th position. Hutu now, he is on an outlap, and we're seeing what Mitchell de Jong is also doing at the moment. Just a slow outlap. Hutu, though, is actually on a hot lap here, excuse me. You can see the timing at the bottom of the screen. 32.2, respectable first sector. Could look good for a front row here for Gregor Hutu if he pins the rest of the lap together.
Well, we will see into that fantastic hairpin, slowest point, or one of the slowest points on the circuit, then on the power for 200 right. This fantastic 280 kilometer an hour pulling through the gears. Of course, that's the part of the track where Daniel Kvyat a couple of years ago had his massive moment in the Formula 1 World Championship. But for Hutu, he knows he's got to find a lap time. The worst thing he can do is not have a lap and start from the back, especially when it is a very, very long outlap. Try and get yourself back into play, and with under 3 minutes remaining in qualifying, this lap has to be set and has to be gorgeous right now. Heavy over the first part of the Casio Triangle, nice and neat through the second part, little wiggle as he gets himself over to the line. Hutu 130.269. That is not a Gregor Hutu lap. He is outside the top 10 again, Johnny.
Yeah, and he can't qualify any higher. He's used up his first lap. If he doesn't outlap, that's going to be it. His limit for qualifying will be over. So Gregor Hutu, we thought it couldn't get any worse for him at Suzuka. That's a career worst at Suzuka. If we have to go back and look at the stat sheets for Gregor, he's qualified outside the top 10 back in 2015 and 2016 as well. And here again, we know in 2015 qualified in 14th, 13th in 2016. He's gone one worse here today in the 15th position, and it's not even done yet.
And he was only 0.6 of a second slower. Here's de Jong, though, needing something. 129.356. What a mega lap that is by Mitchell de Jong. He's beaten Martin Kroenke's time by 2.5 of a second, and that was sensational by the X Games gold medalist. But Martin Kroenke has one opportunity to respond here, Johnny. He's got one flying lap, one opportunity remaining.
Yeah, let's watch through turn 1. DRS open. DRS full power. Lovely through the first corner, up to 5th gear here, even up to 6th he's going that fast. Now just pedaling through the S's section. Nice lines, trying to save as much time as possible. Don't touch the brake through that corner, just release the pedal. Let the car ease itself into the corner, undo the weight transfer. Now through the Degner curve, spot your brake marker, and Martin, pinpoint perfection. Goes down to 3rd gear. So interesting for Martin, he's down an extra gear. Some drivers gone to 4th through the exit out of the second Degner corner. This looks like a good lap from Martin Kroenke so far. He's always left it to the last second, Jake. Let's see through Spoon and through the rest of the lap whether he gets this correct for a pole position.
Martin Kroenke knows that if he goes banzai, he leaves it all on the table for the second lap. The first lap normally a sighter. This is now where he throws everything at it over the curb with 2 tyres on the exit of Spoon. And now the charge to the fabled 130R, that legendary overtake between Alonso and Schumacher at 315 kilometers an hour. He charges, hits the brakes, looking for the Casio triangle, and a magic lap. 129.356. The only man who can beat him is this one, number 5, 2-time reigning champion, 129.448. It's second, it's a better second, but it's still not enough to go quicker than the 24. Kroenke gave everything, but Mitchell de Jong, he loves Suzuka. He is 1 cut above. Qualifying is complete. This is how things will look for the starting grid. Coanda 1, 2, 3, but it's the California kid, Mitchell de Jong, on pole position, 129.356. He leads Kroenke in qualifying with Mac Backham in 3rd position. Apex take 4th, 5th and 6th. Jamie Fluke followed by Peter Berryman and Antoine Higeland. Charles Sturgis will start from 7th with David Williams in 8th. Davide de Corps is 9th, and Marcus Jensen, the first burst esports driver, in 10th. Tommy Erskard and Josh Rogers will be on row 6, with row 7 being locked out by Ilka Harpala and Kevin Ellis Jr. Yao Vaz in 15th, with Gregor Hutu all the way down in 16th. Stephen Michaels, Ricardo Roscoe, Dion Burgess, Michael Partington, Paul Ilbrink and Balazs Remenick round out 22 for qualifying. But stay with us, fallout from qualifying coming up in just 1 moment's time on the iRacing Esports Network.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing
race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Kroenke goes off. De Jong into 2nd place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though.
and wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that 2nd spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
It may be 1 week between 2 different races. Sometimes it can be a tough run on the mind, but of course the momentum it generates is absolutely sensational. Mitchell de Jong, the fastest man in qualifying on a 129.356. He's beaten Martin Kroenke in qualifying, a rare feat that you can say over the last 2 years. Jonathan Simon standing by with a flying lap.
So here it is, Mitchell de Jong, we got it on board. Starts the lap, starts it wide there as well. It's the best run. Click on DRS for this first section. You can see he's already revving in 8th gear up to 330 kilometers an hour. You want to take 2 apexes into this corner and clips that 2nd apex nicely at turn 1. And good on the traction here. Here's where you want to use all the curb, and the Coanda car has been just retrospectively, one of the best cars using curbs in all of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series. They've just set up that car to perfection. Dunlop curve here, full throttle. Be careful of the bump right here, mid-apex, that can send the car flying into the barriers. The Degner curves, toughest corners in all of motorsport. It is that difficult. No runoff at the exit, so if you make a mistake, you're basically out of qualifying. And then through the braking at the hairpin here. Try to straight line this as much as possible. Easier in qualifying, much harder in the race with a fat load of fuel on board. It's hard to take the inside line here on the run out to Spoon, but Mitchell can do it because he's on low fuel and plenty of traction, fresh rubber, brake just where the tarmac is on the right-hand side, and then turn in earlier than you think for this second Spoon curve. That's the best way to head out of there. It's off camber, easy to apply traction. You look out for drivers there during the race who may be on worn tires, struggle to get the rear end out of the second Spoon curve. And you want to go full throttle through here. Some drivers will downshift to 7th, but Mitchell has carried enough speed. He's going that fast. He'll stay in 8th. Some drivers hate to use the curb there, but as we said, that Coanda car is just insane on the curbs. Shortest line to the flag there. Flicks on DRS just for those last few moments. That is a rapid lap time, Jake, from Mitchell de Jong, the American. And I guess he was just motivated from all the stuff that happened in the past week. He was half a second off pole last time out at the Nürburgring. Now snatches it all to himself. And I guess that's a good thing to start off with, Jake, because Mitchell de Jong at Suzuka, and we're expecting the Circuit of the Americas later on in the season, they're two really strong tracks for him.
They certainly are, and you look at Mitchell de Jong, he knows that he's got to try and take points away from Martin Kroenke as much as he can, and he knows the only way he is going to be able to do that is if he can finish ahead of Martin Kroenke. Spa-Francorchamps, maybe not the circuit that he wants with 2 races to go, but at the season finale at COTA, he will want that opportunity. But I just want to take a look at, let's take the top 3 out of perspective just for a second here, Johnny, because you've got 4th to 16th split by just 0.3 of a second there or thereabouts. And for Gregor Hutu, 0.3 of a second, that's the difference between him starting on the 2nd row and now on the 8th row. And if he's got to deal with 12, 13 more vehicles going through the field, we've seen how Gregor Hutu can make those runs, can make those races, but there are some very tough cookies and some tough characters who will not give Gregor Hutu an inch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he did start 14th in 2015 here and still ended up on the podium, but it wasn't easy, and it definitely should have been a race he won. Hugo Luis, who's behind the scenes here at RaceSpot, told us when he used to race against Redline, they were obviously slow in qualifying, but then when you got to the race, they were actually the quickest team in the race itself. So Redline, we don't know what's going to happen here with Gregor Hutu come race time. I have to say, though, some words from his team boss, Dom Doohan, is just that in the past week, he hasn't had that much time to practice. And look at these small teams along those lines. You know, Gregor Hutu, basically, or essentially a one-man team, Jake. Look at Burst Esport. Rogers and Jensen, 2 young drivers, could find setup difficult for themselves. First year, well, second year for Jensen in this car, but first year for Rogers. You know, setting up the car with 1 week practice, that's where you need a big team, all putting in hours and all putting in the effort. That's where you need experience. And right there, this is why we always see in these 1 week break events, especially at a track like Suzuka, you see the grid shuffled around like this. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting, and what's more interesting as well is the championship standings, because Martin Kroenke, yes, he didn't win last week when he got to that fantastic race at the Nürburgring, but what he was able to do was still extend that margin over Mitchell de Jong. Over a Mitchell de Jong he's had to play catch-up on for the majority of this season, Johnny, and I think now, at crunch time, Martin Kroenke is turning on the afterburners and going, you know what, Mitchell? I'm here to spoil your party. You may be fighting for 3 iRacing championships this year, but I'm going to try and make sure to the best of my abilities that you are going to get none.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is for Martin is that Mitchell starts on pole this race, and if Mitchell heads away and wins this event, we know Mitchell made a pass on Martin here back in, I think it was 2015, when Mitchell claimed his 2nd victory in the championship, and he ended up winning the race. So the thing with Mitchell de Jong now is if he wins this race today, he'll gain 20 extra points at least on Martin Kroenke. That's if Martin finishes 2nd. 20 points difference. You get 100 points for a win, 80 points for P2. He'll bring the gap down to 9 points. The problem is they head to Spa next, Jake. and that is a Martin Kroenke track. I don't even think he's at $1.01 to win that race. He's at $1. I think the betting market's off for the win. You know Martin's going to win that one, but it's the Circuit of the Americas round that plays to Mitchell's favor here. So Mitchell's going to hope that if he finishes 1-2 for the rest of the season and Martin wins Spa, it's not enough. So he has to hope for a mistake from Kroenke or just have to do something extra special at Spa for Mitchell de Jong.
Or maybe need a bit of help from his Dutch teammate Matt Backham, or a Finnish help from Gregor Hutu, or anybody else who decides to get themselves up onto that level. But let's talk Apex for a second. 4th, 5th, and 6th at a track which they said that, okay, maybe we're not feeling as strong as, but to have 3 cars inside of the top 6, Fluke, Berryman, and Higeland, there's a lot of strength that can challenge that Coanda block at the top if they play their cards right off of the start of the grid, Johnny.
Yeah, it definitely is. And race pace will come into play as well. I mean, I just think they're going to struggle, Apex, to sort of catch the Coanda duo. I think they're really battling here for that 4th position and just staying ahead of the guys of Jurgis behind, Williams, and the rest of the crew. So those 3 are in a bit of trouble. Sad not to see Kevin Ellis Jr. up there. I really feel like he had some extra pace, but Kevin Ellis Jr., who's looking strong, should have finished 4th last time at the Nürburgring. He's going to find it even tougher here to make up for it today. But yeah, those 3 are looking strong, as you said. Very impressive qualifying performance from Anton Higeland.
Yes, and it's also been a very impressive qualifying performance from Davy de Korps and David Williams, both who you normally find, Johnny, on the nether regions of the top 15 there or thereabouts. But de Korps had a great qualifying at Road America. It didn't work out for him after about 3 corners. David Williams on that battle for the bubble, shall we say, for the top 20 positions. This race could mean a lot come the end of the season. 22 drivers, 20 positions only keep your license. There's a lot riding on this for those looking to go and try and keep their license, those who may have to go through the road to pro.
Yeah, exactly. For David de Korps, though, it's not a career-high qualifying performance. See, that Road America performance, as you said, was very good from him. But for David Williams, it's not either a career-high qualifying performance. He was back in the World Championship back in 2011. And back then, you put out some insane race performances. Even had a podium at Spa, which is coming up next. For some reason, these My3ID branch and Coanda Duo cars, they all seem to go well at the Spa racetrack. But those 2 respectable qualifying performances from there. The challenge for Suzuka now, Jake, depending on track conditions, we're expecting a 2-stop race. If it's cold, a 1-stop may work. 3-stop, whether it's cold or hot, there's just too much time to travel through the pit lane. You're going so slow through there. You're rocketing across the front straight at 300 kilometers an hour. It's a strategy that not many people want to elect to hope for. So up the tire pressures, have them high, make those tires last for a 2-stop, and that's probably the best strategy here today to be safe.
Let's invoke the verb to del orco, which is the strategy to do a 3-stop or more when it comes to racing action. But Johnny, before we head ourselves then over towards racing setup, let's just talk about this track very, very briefly. It is very different. It is Japanese asphalt, which is a very different characteristic. It suits some drivers, it doesn't suit other drivers, and this is where we'd expect maybe a team like Radicals to come up to the forefront. Unfortunately, no Umashima here today. Partington probably one of the best that they could hope for, and down in 20th position, Radicals haven't turned up today.
No, they haven't. So I don't know if there's just been a lack of testing behind the scenes, because that's the best way to explain this. Mike Partington was a lot quicker at the Nürburgring, so that's the only way to look at this situation for that team. They were on the front row here, Jake. We were talking about that as we see Partington fly off. Where is he? I don't even know if he's on the racetrack here. He's completely off the track there in qualifying. And yeah, they were on the front row. Was it 2016 here? We had Filio first, Umashima second. Obviously, they fell back during the race. And it's just because they've just never figured out the tires. I think that's something Mac Backham spoke about as well, is that, you know, we all thought it was ERS issues, but there were some tire issues too for Radicals back in the day.
There certainly were. And of course, this is going to be very, very telling on those tires. The ERS will be used at full capability, but we are going to step aside very briefly here on the iRacing Esports Network, ladies and gentlemen, because we are getting ready for the race. Suzuka always promises. Suzuka always lives up to its reputation, and we know how good Suzuka races have been in the past. And my goodness, are we set for a titanic title scrap between De Jong and Kroenke. No holds barred, 3 rounds to go. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. See us in just a couple of minutes' time as we get ready for racing here on the iRacing Esports Network.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulated test driver.
So it's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
Alex Labbe, driver of number 36 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm here at iRacing headquarters, just logging some laps on the Roval. It's a brand new track, nobody's been there before. Even us Xfinity guys, we're not allowed to go test before, so I think it's a pretty good test to do a couple of laps here and learn the layout. I think it's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be fun to drive by ourselves, but I think it's gonna be really tough in the traffic just to overtake people, and especially the infield because it's all new pavement. So it's gonna be pretty tricky, but I think we're gonna have to be there at the end to survive because there's gonna be a lot of things happening for sure. I started on iRacing on 2010, I think, just doing like short tracks because I was a short track racer and just helping me out. And then when I started doing the Xfinity Series, it really helped me learn all the new tracks because it was always the first time I was going to the tracks and all the ovals, and especially like the road courses like the Roval and I don't know, Mid-Ohio, Road America, Watkins. It's a little longer to learn. So if I could use I use the platform in the weeks prior to the race just to get the track in my head and be up to speed quicker on the track. I think it's probably like if I would have run 10 to 15 laps on the real track for sure at least, because I mean I know I've been on iRacing before, and I know the tracks are really close to what they're in real life. So just small stuff I can learn. I think I can apply it like directly on the track when I get there, and it's a lot because like I said, you get up to speed quicker and you make a lot more gains with the team, and especially we're a smaller team, so we can't really run. Like on Thursday, we're going to run some laps, but we can't run as much lap as a big team. So just to come here and lug some good laps, it's going to be a huge help for this weekend.
Heading down towards the Parabolica, and we're getting all set for the start of 3 hours of racing around Monza here, and certainly going to be a good race. We're waiting for the green light. The green flag doesn't drop yet. It's down the line. Now the green flag comes out. Away we go then. 3 hours underway here at Monza as they head down towards Rettifilio to start with. You're going 3-4 wide further down your field. Hopefully everyone gets themselves sorted out as they head in to turn number 1 now. This first chicane, so easy to make contact around here. We've got a car spun, and we've got more.
53 laps in the land of the rising sun. Suzuka is our stage, and of course our actors all on track. 22 of them all hoping to get a victory, and 2 fighting for one big championship. 17 turns, 5.8 kilometer lap here on the iRacing Esports Network, round 12 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Let's take a look at track conditions here today. It is cloudy here in the afternoon in the Japanese sun, 30 degrees only on the track, with winds coming in from the northeast, gusting around 13 kilometers an hour, with rising humidity at 47%. And Johnny, this is a crucial race. For Martin Kroenke, it is damage limitation. Couldn't get the victory last time out at the Nürburgring. Not on pole here. He needs to get around first and foremost Mitchell de Jong. If not, he's got to stay as close as possible.
Yeah, qualifying didn't go well for him. It didn't go the iconic way for the German. Setting that lap in the last seconds was only good enough for the front row, but there you can see the championship standings on screen. That is why it is damage limitation for our two-time world champion. 29 points ahead of the American Mitchell de Jong, with a race win here for Mitchell de Jong. If he can get it done over these next 53 laps, he could cut the gap to at least 9 points, depending on where Martin Kroenke finishes.
And that's going to be so crucial. So many times this year we have quoted Mitchell de Jong, this is my last great chance to win an iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series crown. My last great chance, and he will take that to the bank. Gregor Hutu will start no higher than 16th position, and he will have a lot of troubles to go when he's got things going on. But of course, we need to talk strategy around here today, Johnny, because this could be a one-stop race. It looks more likely to be a one-stop race, but a two-stop is so viable in these conditions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's probably an 80% chance it'll be a two-stop race in these conditions. If anything, these are perfect two-stop conditions. Mostly cloudy skies, 23 degrees Celsius ambient temperature, 31 degrees Celsius track temperature. So it's perfect two-stop conditions, as we said. Any colder, the one-stop would work for a few more drivers, but we'll see who will take that gamble today. If you're three-stopping, that is certainly overkill. And what we've noticed, Jake, across testing is those drivers who lower their tire pressures by a bit too much may be three-stopping the race, maybe faster over 1 or 2 laps to start the stint, but towards the end of the stint, they'll need to pray that the lower tire pressures do not send those cars into the barriers, because it is that difficult to handle. Once it gets to about 10 laps through the stint, the car just starts to oversteer, and the drivers have just struggled to handle that.
They certainly will struggle, and that's what they have to keep on avoiding here at Suzuka. More importantly, though, there's a lot of people who get it done for us at RaceSpotTV. Firstly, to And Designs, the official graphics partners here at RaceSpotTV, with ATVO and Apgeneer, the official graphics engine, with animations brought to you by Simon Grossman. Live timing scoring will be available after lap 2. That's brought to you by Nick Thyssen, as well as Track Cams 22. Our cameras brought to you by Istvan Ballo. Make sure that you check them out as well. So it seems that, Johnny, we're in for a really good race here. 1 minute remains before we take ourselves to the starting grid.
Can I say, And Design, who designed our beautiful graphics overlay for RaceSpot, also designed Sergei Sirotkin's helmet this weekend in Formula 1, so check that out. He also did Valtteri Bottas's earlier on in the season. He's just one of the, definitely the best designer. What am I saying? One of the best designer out there in sim racing or motorsport in general. He's that valuable to us at RaceSpot, Jake. So that's what I'm looking forward to the race, seeing more And Design overlays on our coverage.
Oh, yes, indeed. We are getting ready then for the starting grid. This is how things will line up then as we get ourselves ready for action at Suzuka. Mitchell de Jong will be on pole position here with Martin Kroenke, his title rival, championship leader, two-time reigning champion, alongside Mac Backen will start third with Jamie Fluke in fourth. Row 3 is all Apex, Peter Berryman and Antoine Higeland, followed by the second all Coanda row of Pajalis Jurgis and David Williams. David Korp starts 9th with Marcus Jensen in 10th. And then you see scrolling down on your screen the rest of the grid, the likes of Gregor Hutu in 16th position, Kevin Ellis Jr. in 14th, the likes of Michael Partington, Paul Ilbrink, and Balázs Remenick, the last 3 drivers on this 22-car field. It's a shorter race here at 53 laps, but it is one that will always be challenging. Tyres will go off incredibly quickly, and this will be one where he who tries his best, he who can manage his vehicle the best, will tame this beautiful figure 8 circuit. One of only a couple on the iRacing service that we have, and my goodness, is Suzuka the most famous of the lot. But for Mitchell de Jong, it's about destiny. For Martin Kroenke, it's about continuing a legacy. And we just get ourselves ready then, waiting for the green flag to drop. As it drops now, we're getting ourselves underway here. It's a slow start there from the 4th row by one of the Coanda cars, and immediately going heavy defensive over the grass goes one of the Coanda cars at the front of the field. That was Kroenke desperately trying to find a way past de Jong. No given quarter at all, as they almost make contact into one, side by side behind, as that's Higeland trying to battle it out with David Williams. Higeland wins out that battle. My goodness, Johnny, we almost had Senna and Prost all over again here with the 2 teammates.
It came really close, didn't it? And it's for the championship, as we said. Meanwhile, behind Williams with a great start, Georges has fallen down a few positions, so he just didn't get off the line well at all. But that almost became calamity between de Jong and Kroenke. In the end, though, they survive another day. But it goes to show how hungry de Jong is to claim this championship here in 2018. Well,
he wants it. He knows he won't get himself there. There's contact in the middle of the pack, and that's one of the Orion cars. That was Kevin Ellis Jr. and Davide Corps coming together at the hairpin. It's given Hutu a position as now just behind de Corps. Orozco and Partington begin to battle it out. So drivers getting a little bit antsy then in the early stages of this event here, Johnny. That was not what was expected from drivers here. Maybe just a little bit of work to happen as Jensen now starts to attack David Williams. This one crucial to 130R. They're nose to tail as they head through.
Yeah, look how close this is between the two. Now on the run down to the Casio Triangle. Oh, alongside each other here, Rogers and Jensen, the 2 teammates. You don't want to collide here coming out of the final corner, but here's a shot for Paschalis Georges to claim another position. He's currently in 10th, hasn't lost any other spots since turn number 1. Rogers on the defensive, no DRS at this stage of the race either, and Rogers just a bit more confident on the brakes, and Georges will have to slot him behind.
Yeah, he certainly will. Live timing and scoring then will be available. Head over to RaceSpot.tv/timing for that one. 7/10 of a second then, says Mitchell de Jong's at the front of the field. Coanda lock at the front as things stands. Peter Berryman up 1 into 4th position. Some of your big gainers, Josh Rogers up 3, Marcus Jensen up 2 positions. Gregor Hutu is up 4 on the back of this train. He's trying to get past Kevin Ellis Jr. Both of them trying to work their ways up through the field at this stage, but we've been seeing here how it has been good starts for Gregor Hutu. Certainly a race-paced driver as he tries to get around the young Scotsman.
Yeah, Ellis Jr. involved in that clash at that corner there, the hairpin with Davide Corps on the opening lap. Looked like Davide Corps has turned in on Ellis Jr. Ellis Jr. did slot his nose there a little bit late. Dirty air through spoon here. There's a lot of fuel on board in this car. We're looking there ahead as the driver of Davide Corps, who's got a damaged front wing as well after that incident, Jake, and that's going to probably mean a long pit stop for him. He's starting to fall behind here on the front stretch, and I certainly think that Davide Corps in an Orion race team car may have damage for the rest of this event.
And that's going to really hurt, because that will cost him at least 6 seconds when it comes to the pit stop window. One driver is out of this event. That is Michael Partington of Radicals Online colours. That's not going to be helpful as Ricardo Orozco desperately tries to stay in tow with the Corps, who is struggling here. 319 on the straight heading towards turn number 1. Was being closed down in. DRS now firmly in activation. Your top 3 split by just 1.2 seconds. They're all working with each other to break away. They're thinking at this stage, Johnny, okay, if we can get rid of Peter Berryman, we can start fighting amongst ourselves and have a proper race.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to break through from the pack. Just have a comfortable event on your own. Interesting to see, though, everybody right now in the event all the way down to P19 are all within a second of each other. Balazs Remenick in 19th, over a second behind Tommy Erskine. But that is how close it is in your battle for victory. Don't forget Mac Backham, who's currently in third behind his two teammates. He could also be in the shot here for race victory.
It was a horrible start for Tommy Erskine. He's dropped 7 positions off of the start. De Corps has dropped 4, as we have noted. Ilkka Harpala has also struggled. He has also dropped 7 positions, as he, the Finn, who has race wins in this series, back when this car was run in an IndyCar, or I believe it was a DW. No, it wouldn't have been a DW12. It would have been an IRO5. Yeah, you're right. As he looks to try and get past Race Clutch's new driver, Balazs Remenick, the Hungarian. This one now for 19th position out on track. You can see using the draft well, but not close enough on the braking zone to the Casio triangle. You need to be tucked up underneath within about a 10th.5, Johnny, if you want to make that lunge.
Yeah, exactly. Harpala now. We're not sure what's really gone wrong for him, but he'll have DRS here. He's got a damaged front wing, so certainly another Orion Race Team car with damage. Easy move past the Race Clutch driver of Balazs Remenick. An official Race Clutch driver now, Jake. This is his second race with the team. Was on loan last round at the Nürburgring, but here he is now officially on board with the group. As now Paul Ilbrink all over the rear end of Balazs here, but just cannot find a way through the S's.
And Paul Ilbrink knows that he is in that relegation scrap, shall we say, on the bubble, as he tries to pick up a tight line through the Dunlop curve as they head to the first of 2 Degners out on track. Always difficult to make a move at Degners 1 and 2, so Ilbrink not close enough, but how brave do you dare to be at what is known as Kamui Kobayashi corner? He loved making overtakes here, but not able to is the Dutchman Paul Ilbrink. He will have to sit in line and wait just a little bit longer. Marcus Jensen, though, he is a man under pressure, and he's just run slightly wide there. 2 contrasting lines through Spoon Curve, the second part of it. This allows Josh Rogers an opportunity to close down in. I wonder if team orders may come into play in this one, Johnny. Allow Rogers to go out there and attack, with Jensen maybe a more conservative and more consistent driver.
It's too early and it's too tight in the pack, I think, to do that, but you're right. Something to consider later on, because right now I think Jensen, he's still within touching distance of David Williams, at least with DRS range. We're riding on board with Rogers. You can see all the way screaming up to 325 kilometers an hour, only in 7th gear. Doesn't shift up to 8th. You can hear the car revving there as well, Jake. Just abusing the engine is the young Australian. So Rogers now tucked in behind his teammate. So the gap's now up in front. Berryman in 4th is now out of DRS range of the 3 Coanda cars in those top 3 positions. David Williams in 7th, out of DRS range of the 3 Apex cars from 4th to 6th. So the race now starting to stretch out. If you can make it to lap 17, you will be 2 stopping this race. Pit any earlier, and you're probably 3 stopping, but I don't think any driver will be electing for that for sure.
No, I don't think any drivers will be electing for a 3-stop strategy. David Williams under pressure as well by Marcus Jensen as that train continues all the way back to the corpse. Behind that, though, Ricardo Orozco for University Isabel first. Positive Sim Racing under pressure because there's Stephen Michaels, and there is also Yao Vaz and Tommy Erskine in this train. Dion Verges desperately trying to hang on to this one here, Johnny, but this middle pack, this middle to late pack, Stephen Michaels has had some good charges up through the field. New rebirth with Race Clutch in their road to 2020, trying to get everybody as a professional esports driver. But Ricardo Orozco, the man under pressure, but is starting to pull out here on this lap.
Now, Ricardo's a good driver. He's well improved this year, and so I don't think he's going to be an easy pass for Stephen Michaels. The positive sim racing driver up ahead is just... Orozco's had a good year, I think. He's been consistent. He's improved consistently as well. He's appeared race to race as well. Doesn't just have a license and doesn't use it and doesn't turn up to all these races and waste all these grid spots. He actually shows up, which is a good thing. And he's doing well so far. P14, claiming some good points here. See where he ends up anyway. Stephen Michaels, though, is starting to edge in closer and closer. Then we look up ahead of them. Gregor Hutu still locked in behind the Apex Racing UK driver of Kevin Ellis Jr. No chance he's getting behind the young Scottish man.
No chances just yet. Kevin Ellis Jr. is one of the smoothest and most consistent drivers. But Johnny, we have noticed over this year that he has been favouring the one-stop strategy more and more. even when the two-stop has maybe been the better option on paper, shall we say. So Kevin Ellis Jr. likes a strategy, sticks to it. Sometimes, would you argue that makes it a little bit easier to understand what a driver's doing if they keep going to the same playbook? Do you think that drivers should be switching up a little bit more?
Yeah, you don't want to be Paul di Resta and always zero stop or one stop. You want to actually make some good stops here and be challenging. You know, two stop if it's the better option for Kevin Ellis Jr. His pace so far, high 33, so he may really be electing for that one stop. Who knows? We'll see what happens next time round. Action on the racetrack though.
Yes, we do. David Williams has actually just lost a position out on track. That was to Marcus Jensen. That was a mistake coming out of the hairpin. So through the hairpin he goes, and he goes broad sideways there, Johnny, trying to save the vehicle. And Marcus Jensen says, thank you very much. That's about the greatest gift I could get from David Williams, apart from a Christmas card at the end of the year. But that for David Williams, a rare mistake.
And the problem for Williams is once you do that in the car becomes ever difficult, especially at this stage of the stint, to handle. It's going to be like driving on ice at the moment as we watch David Williams now through the Degner curves. This is still a replay actually with David Williams because ironically he's at this part of the racetrack as well live. He'll come through to the corner here, second gear, applies it. It just snaps like that. You can tell the tires are starting to go away for the Coanda driver. And here's the difficult part. If that happens to you at the hairpin, he has to back off the throttle in this straight, bizarrely. Otherwise, the car could spin off into the barriers at 300 kilometers an hour. The iRacing tire model, not friendly for this world-class talent.
No, it's not, and you have to be so careful about how you manage those tyres. Let's go back live, though, to Kevin Ellis Jr., the 98 Apex Racing UK. He's got the Greek freak Paschalis Georgis just in front. This the battle for the final spot inside of the top 10. Georgis currently holding himself about a 2.5 of a second advantage, extending out more and more onto the brakes, and no chances to make the move just yet. But the DRS train in full effect at the moment, and this is where you start thinking, okay, if I was on the one-stop strategy, do I convert to an early two-stop?
Well, that's the question. They still got until lap 17 to decide as Ellis Jr. ran a bit deep there into the first corner, but picked up the pieces towards the middle part of the lap. You do have to think about strategy at this stage of the race. Kevin Ellis Jr. always has David Strid as his engineer. David Strid, a guy I've thrown punches with before virtually. He's a good dude though, and we'll have a laugh about that certainly. And he's got a great passionate team behind him, Kevin Ellis Jr. Heading through these Degner curves now, they're so difficult. You don't want to beat yourself on that curve either. And the traction zones here take such a toll on the rear tires. Look from the rear end of Georgis now to the hairpin. No look for Ellis Jr.
Tommy Erskard is out of the event. This happened at turn number 3. He just gets himself too heavy over the curb. The vehicle snaps and he goes backwards into the tyre wall. Doesn't look like a heavy amount of contact, but for Erskard, that is day done for the Norwegian. And for Coanda, that's a rare retirement. So Erskard now out of the event after what has been a pretty poor day by his standards.
Yeah, I mean, his poor driving standards on lap 1. His rejoin wasn't really that good. And then he just made a drive error there. Just touched the grass on the outside. They've all done that during testing. He's just unfortunately done it when he doesn't need to. And yeah, out of the event. So just a simple drive error. Tried to widen the line, which is what all the drivers are trying to do there to start the lap. But those guys had better races for sure, and he'll be looking forward to the next round at Spa.
He certainly has. Let's get a replay then of what happened at the start. De Jong and Kroenke are still within 1 second of each other, but it could have been the other way around, and it could have been absolute disaster between the two Coanda cars, Johnny.
Yeah, look how close this was, and Kroenke on the grass. Oh man, that's exciting. One of the best starts I've ever seen in this series, just in terms of pure entertainment. And look at the spins behind. So that's what happened to Erskard. Erskard's there at the back of the pack, now retired, and I believe that was Ilkka Haapala. So those two collided there at turn 1, and later on we know Partington was involved in some drama. Ellis Jr. at the hairpin as well. Here's the rest of the field coming through. He's riding on board with De Jong, Jake, and again, this is going to squeeze Martin onto the grass.
Well, he made sure that he left racing room, and maybe a little bit less than that as well. Martin Kroenke knew that it was going to be defended by Mitchell de Jong. How aggressively, he did not know, but my goodness. They may be teammates, Johnny, but they know there's a championship at stake. Once you know there's a championship you're fighting for, you don't give your teammate anything.
No, certainly not. We're looking at Erskard now. So what's going wrong for Tommy Erskard? It's so narrow here at this racetrack, and yeah, just collided with a driver off track, no grip, and then again, different contact. So just a rejoin there. I mean, look, I don't really think Erskard did much wrong. I think he just, I mean, where else is he supposed to rejoin, you know? We saw some comments from others, and yeah, I don't know. That's a fishy situation. I don't know what else Erskard can really do in that situation. When you're forced off the racetrack or you have contact, it's not like he was trying to cause an incident. Something to look at later, something for the stewards to decide. Here's the young Dane, Marcus Jensen. That's a clean start for him. Does anything happen here with Marcus Jensen? No, just a simple start for him, I guess.
Yeah, very simple start for Marcus Jensen. Let's go back live, though, and just get an eye on what's happening at the moment, because we're starting to see more fragmentation of this field as Jensen tries to stay with his old teammates at Apex Racing UK. He's struggling. He's 2 seconds off the pace, but it's small packs of 3 that we're seeing. Jurgis now, a bridge between the divide here between himself and Josh Rogers, and this is not helping Ellis Jr. or Hutu's race here, Johnny.
No, it's not. Jurgis' lap times are now low 34s, so Kai is certainly dropping off. Ellis Jr. still high 33s last lap round. He did a couple of low 34s, but his tyres really handling quite well. Hutu's managing his tyres quite well too. If anybody has to one-stop, Jake, you'd think it'd be Gregor Hutu.
I think it would, and Gregor knows that if you're going to do something in this race, you've got to think outside of the box, and I think he's got no real other alternatives from where he is. Lap 11, though, we start out of 53, and I just want to keep an eye on Mac Backham in 3rd position right now. He's just been very, very quiet. He's been staying around 7/10, 8/10 of a second away from Martin Kroenke at the front of the field. And Mac's just playing that patient game. He doesn't want to get involved in this title battle, but he knows if he has a really good pit stop and he plays his strategy right, he said he wanted another win this season. This could be his best chance.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's at a time where if you're Mac Backham, you don't really want to win in this situation either, because you're like, I don't want to affect this championship battle between Mitchell and Martin. He won't really care about that, of course. He'll be gunning for victory, and he'll be saying, okay, while you two squabble, I'll do something out of the ordinary and just slot myself into P1. So Mac Backham here is the X factor in this race.
Certainly is the X factor, which means that he may be a certain wrestler we may or may not be able to talk about. But for the moment, at least, we do have a good scrap going on. Ricardo Orozco versus Ilka Harpala. This one for 16th position out on track. This is behind Yao Vaz versus Stephen Michaels, which is going on for 14th position here. So Harpala on that recovery drive hasn't really had too much to work with, but I have to say the race pace has been so consistent through this field. We're 11 laps into this event, Johnny, and the top 17 are still split by just 17 seconds.
Yeah, it's been very close. And now the mistakes are going to start to come in. 10 laps through the stint. This is where the tyres really start to drop off. Rogers, just looking how close he is getting to David Williams. He's at the final corner. Here he is on screen. Both he and Williams may have had a moment through Spoon Curve because they lost a bit of time through that sector. DRS for Rogers, not for David Williams. Will Rogers close in on the Coanda veteran? Being part of that team for almost a decade already, David Williams. He's a veteran of sim racing, and the young man in Rogers trying to claim the throne for himself. But here he is through the Esses section, just not close enough. But as I said, Jake, now is the time where the tyres just start to, the car will snap, oversteer more. Here's another corner, Dunlop curve. It's impossible almost to go full throttle through here. Rogers takes a tighter line to avoid the bump. And it just could become a race of attrition for the rest of this stint as the pit window is almost about to open.
It certainly can be, and losing DRS for David Williams is disaster because Marcus Jensen has been the big help. Wide line through the hairpin then from Williams. This allows Rogers a chance here, the young Australian, to start thinking about, okay, going aggressive. How does that make that work? Also worth talking about here, Johnny, Mac Backham is out of DRS range. This could be a 2-horse scrap. There's a vehicle turn around though, out on track. And that's Jamie Fluke from 4th or 5th position in the race. No contact, just driver error.
Oh God, not for Jamie, who was driving so well. Oh, he's done that all on his own. And that's, again, that's the tires. He's gone in too hot. The car will snap like that. That's just what's gone wrong for Jamie Fluke. The tires are that abhorrent. I mean, they're so difficult to handle. And we could see that happening to more drivers. The problem for Jamie now is he's going to have unless he pits, the rest of the stint's going to be chaotic for him. He's already about to be passed here by David de Corps.
Around the outside, de Corps looks with the damaged front wing, but he's not able to get past Fluke. And now Fluke behind Gregor Hutu et al. On this train. That drops him back to 12th position in this event. 7 positions lost on one costly spin. And it wasn't much at all, just the back started to step out there, Johnny, and just like that, it's gone. It happens so quickly in these MP430s, you need to be lightning reactions to save it.
Yeah, not even. I mean, I don't even think reactions could save that. You know, it's just, this car is so challenging. The iRacing time model is so challenging as well. The car will just snap on you like that. You shouldn't really need to be saving that. You should be driving in a way that prevents a moment like that from happening. And Fluke just unexpected, you know, at a stage like this in the race, he cannot be making those mistakes. And for Jamie Fluke, he's just going to be lamenting that error. At least he got past lap 1 this round, but it's not a good race for him so far after that spin.
No, it's not. He needs to just gather himself up and make sure that he has another go. As again, he just has a little bit of a moment coming through Spoon. David Williams, though, he's still underneath that pressure, and he's still looking to try and combat Josh Rogers here at the end of lap 13, starts lap 14. So close they go through the left right of the Casio triangle, and you can see just how the dirty air effect really hurts this final corner and this run onto the front stretch. It means that you've got to do so much more work, Johnny, to try and make a move into turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to look here. Well, there was Williams, and behind him as well, Ellis Jr. was close to Pascal Sturgis. There they are on screen. Hutu's even close to that as well. He just appeared in the background. Look how close those three are. So that battle's tight. So is Hegelen. Oh, so is Jensen, Williams, Rogers, as we said. And it's a good race so far. I'm enjoying this, Jake. You know, the 3-stop window opens now on lap 14. Jamie Fluke, you just can't go for it. If you can extend this stint to lap 17, you might as well 2-stop. But can Fluke, someone like him, survive for these next 3 laps? Look how much this spin has cost him. There's no damage to him, Jake. And he's lost time to Gregor Hutu, who's in P11. Fluke was running 4th before this.
Exactly, and that just tells you something. The times in position 4 were 34.2s. They are so similar. Williams still just pulling away from Rogers. They were nose to tail coming out of the hairpin and then into 200 right. But through Spoon again. Rogers just running a little bit wide, trying to open it up. Williams struggling to apply the power down, but it's a very even game. Battle of attrition, as we keep on saying here. Gap around 0.2 of a second. I think Rogers wants to attack here. I think he wants to make a move. If he finds himself close enough, they'll come to the braking zone of the Casio triangle, and once more Rogers will just have to sit and wait in the tow, because he does not have anything to answer here to get past Coanders Williams.
Yeah, behind them as well, Ellis Jr. is close. Rogers also in that battle. Oh, someone pits, Kevin Ellis Jr. So early pit stop, as he pitted a bit earlier for that 2-stop. Will he try to extend his next couple of stints, go 1 lap longer in each of his next 2 stints? It could be the case for Kevin Ellis Jr., but I think those tires look fine for him. He just couldn't find a way past the driver of Pascal Sturgis.
No, he couldn't. Also in is Ricardo Orozco and Jamie Fluke. So Kevin Ellis Jr., who is traditionally the 1-stop guy, deciding to go for the aggressive 2-stop. So very out of character for the Scotsman, and out and away they should go. Ellis Jr. side by side with Orozco coming out of pit road. Orozco was immensely quick when it came to his stop. And look at this.
Oh my goodness! Who's going to win out on top? Where is he? There he is. Oh, don't collide, boys. You're both having great races. What a pit stop from Ricardo Orozco. In the meantime, Jamie Fluke had a penalty, I'm pretty sure. 22nd pit stop for Jamie Fluke. The race has gone bad to worse for Fluke, who should have been in the top 4 spot. Here's the replay. And look at that. Ellis Jr. with DRS as well. You could not make that more exciting.
No, you certainly couldn't. That was sensational work between them, and also a penalty for Jamie Fluke, surely, as well, in that situation, getting very, very close to the line. So Orozco got his way around the both of them. That was some very, very smart stuff from Kevin Ellis Jr. there. That was a titanic battle between them. Any more takers then onto the lane? Will anyone cover off the move? The answer is going to be no at this stage. Gap at the front, down 0.6 a second, and Johnny, you see something.
Just crashed in front of Gregor Hutu. So this is the corner right now. We can see on screen the Dunlop curve. As soon as the tires give way towards the end of the stint, the car will do that. Oh, and he touched Gregor as well. So Hutu's come up with some damage. Nothing that Hutu could have done, but again, that's how unsafe these tires can get at this stage of the race.
It snapped. He was into the inside wall. He's trying to save it, and Hutu gets a piece of it. And for Pash Jurgis, that's going to hurt, and Hutu will not be pleased. He escaped to the grass and just ran out of road to try and get that one back. Hutu did everything possible and only lost one position out of that. In fact, he negged nothing in the end because he only lost a position to the corpse. So Hutu with the damage. My goodness, Gregor Hutu did so well to slow that up before heading himself towards that Degner barrier. That is the mark of a champion, to get yourself out of trouble.
Oh, that's insane by Gregor Hutu. And if you think about it, Hutu's also got worn tires. Hutu did everything right. And I'm not even sure if Hutu... He certainly got clipped by the Greek freak, Pascalis Georges. Not a Greek freak today after that spin, but... Oh, man, this is so exciting towards the end of the stint. There's certainly damage to that Team Redline car on the left-hand side pod, I think. Otherwise, that's just the glare of the sun. Oh, I'm speechless. Jake, turn for the worst this race for a lot of drivers.
In comes Peter Berryman and Antoine Higeland then for Apex as they come onto pit road. Apex are on the two-stop strategy then here today, and that's going to be telling for this event because they want to do something that puts them in the wheelhouse of Coanda. Harpala has a moment. It was almost as if he was trying to think about coming onto the lane there, Johnny, and then he had a huge issue. You see something.
And Jensen's also had contact at turn one. Jensen's lost the car and he was clipped by a Coanda driver behind of David Williams. So again, drivers just struggling to keep this car on the tarmac towards the end of the stint. Two-stop race for sure. I'm sure some of them are considering three-stopping at this stage.
And how Josh Rogers got away from that on the outside, I will never know. Marcus Jensen has a moment, gets on the curb, car gets unsettled as he goes around. Williams is left in no man's land, and Rogers just escapes the skin of his teeth and gains two positions for it. It's pandemonium here in the land of the rising sun, and right now not even Oda Nobunaga could find a way out of this melee.
Oh, well, we weren't lying, were we? The tires are really proving the test of this talent. I'm just watching the replay again. Yeah, this talent today is really being tested. We're seeing the world's best drivers struggling. Now imagine you're amateur who picks up this car for the first time, Jake. There is no chance you're making it through a single lap around this circuit. Rogers here around the outside did everything correctly, slowed down for the incident, took a wide line, took to the grass. You pick up an off track, but it's the safest thing to do. A 1X is better than a 4X. And just a bit of luck goes his side as well for the Australian.
And broken is, for the first time in this event, the DRS gap of 1 second. And it was a mistake from Martin Kroenke at Spoon on lap 17. Even the great Martin Kroenke, the two-time world champion, makes mistakes. He got sideways, he corrected it, Johnny, but 0.4 of a second he lost trying to save the car.
That's what happened to Jamie Fluke, isn't it? Just snapped on the curb. And that can happen to you in this car. And Martin Kroenke now, that was a really important gap because now this race is starting to play into Mitchell de Jong's favor, at least in this early stint. We've seen David Williams make a pit stop. We just saw the camera pan to him earlier on. So one of the Coanda drivers in. Martin on lap 17, just surviving another day.
And it's worth noting where he will come out in comparison because David Williams is in an island on his own. He is behind Kevin Ellis Jr. by a substantial margin. Most of that probably down to the damage that was sustained on that instant with Jensen, who is still out there, but now he's leading a train. Jensen, De Corps, and Hutu. So for Marcus Jensen, you feel right now in this situation, Johnny, that, okay, he's had a moment, he can now gather it up. They're probably going to lose time to Apex, but they've got to be careful. In comes your race leader, though, Mitchell de Jong, followed by Kroenke, followed by Bakken.
Oh, the Coanda drivers working in unison. That's teamwork to the max. That's deadly. It reminds you of the early 2000s Ferrari era, doesn't it? Just how well that team worked. And all three of them now, it essentially is going to be De Jong out on top if he gets his pit stop right. Look at well, there's the stricken car of Jurgis in the way. They'll fly through that. Any mistakes from the bunch? No, clean pit stops. Look like De Jong will end out on top in the end.
Yeah, very good. 3 clean pit stops. Now, I wonder whether they're going down the 2-stop route, mainly because the tyres are going away. Yeah. They've seen mistakes, but not only that, to cover Apex off as well.
Not only that, but I'm looking at like Hutu, De Korps, Jensen in front. We're just talking about Jensen. If these guys are considering one-stopping, you've got to question everything you thought about life today and for the past how many years you've been alive. Re-question it if they can one-stop this race, because this will make no sense. There is no doubt, like, it is almost impossible. There's Rogers, and there are the 3 drivers behind. It is just insane. I mean, you could pit on like lap 22, do a 30-lap stint to win this race, but even that's just impossible.
And look at Kroenke, he's stuck behind Ilka Harpala. He's trying to find a way through. Harpala gets out of the way though for Kroenke, lets him go, knows he's on a different race strategy. There is the quote-unquote yellow helmet syndrome coming into play there with Martin Kroenke and Ilka Harpala there, Johnny.
Yeah, is Harpala going to get out of the way of Mac Backham? This is close. Where's Backham going to appear on screen? There he is. I was going to say, Backham looked close to Harpala, and here riding on board with Mac Backham, straight past, isn't he? I think. Ilka Harpala. Where's Backham going to appear on screen? There he is. So Harpala's definitely going to let him through. But up ahead, though, anybody pitting? Rogers doesn't pit. Jensen doesn't. Hutu doesn't. Decor continues. These drivers are really stretching out this opening stint.
Well, they want the 1-stop, so this is going to be a very, very tough race for those who want to go and make it happen. They will get the best of the tyre life on the next start of the stint, but from there, it's going to be very, very tight between them, and I think some overtakes are going to have to be done come the end of this event. Harpala now under pressure from Peter Berryman. This one for 8th position on the road, net 4th on the track as things stand. So Berryman looking to try and find a way through the S's section, though, is so difficult because you're always setting up for the next pass. You're almost playing chess. You're trying to think 2 or 3 moves in advance. Okay, how do I get past this driver?
Yeah, definitely not at Degner, please. Thank you. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. Degner curves not an overtaking spot. Great drive out of the final corner. That's what a fresh set of rubber does for you. So lap times at this stage for the likes of drivers who are pitted, such as Martin Kroenke, with a pass there on that lap. We'll find out what his lap times are this time round, but certainly they'll be gaining at least 2 seconds a lap on those up in front who, surely, Jake, not one-stopping, as I said. If you can make it to lap 22, that is the absolute earliest you can one-stop at. But even then, that's too early.
Off goes Rogers into the wall out of 130R, and Rogers is effectively done and dusted with that one. A huge lapse of concentration. The tyres let go on him, and straight into pit road he goes. Johnny, you were just saying how the 1-stop could be so dangerous.
And that's why Rogers, that car is almost done for the rest of this event. Even with repairs, that's going to be slow. And so the Australian now lamenting another, well, he was leading some good laps here, wasn't he, Josh Rogers? And again, the car just let go at that corner. It's not an easy corner, 130R, along with Spoon and along with the Dunlop curve. They're the 3 killer corners that can really catch you out. And Josh Rogers is going to have a very long stop here. He's only ever led 1 lap before heading into this event, Jake. A few more laps there, and that was the end of that.
That was, and at the same time, Gregor Hutu found his way past Davide Korps into turn number 1. So Rogers has the big moment. So then let's get a replay brought to you by Wern Designs, the official graphics partners of RaceSpotTV. Let's get a look at Gregor Hutu, and that was as easy as you like. Down the inside of Davide Korps, who does have the damage, and Hutu made sure, okay, I'm up in 2nd position for now, but my 1-stop strategy now, let's just be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, for sure. So Hutu now, that pass took, he started 16th, he's currently in 3rd. How long did that pass take? That pass took, how many laps? 21 laps to make that pass past Davide Korps. So he finally made his way past. And Davy now is slowly going to be reeled in by Mitchell de Jong, who's now traveling through 130R. There's Mitchell de Jong behind the scenes on screen. So if this 1-stop is to work, Hutu would want to pit just before Mitchell de Jong passes him. And at this rate, Mitchell de Jong, 1 minute 32.7 last time round, Hutu a 1 minute 34.4. That is the dangerous difference in lap times between the two.
2.2 seconds, and the gap between them on circuit is now underneath 3 seconds. So de Jong's going to get there on this lap. He may catch De Corps, and there is going to be just a gulfing difference between the tyre lives right now. As we'll get yourself our top 10 on screen after the pit stop window has concluded. But my goodness, what a race we are seeing here. We say it, Johnny, Suzuka never lets people down, and we are seeing arguably the most interesting race that we've seen all year long.
Certainly most dramatic so far. One of the most dramatic. Remember, Monza was along the scales of drama, as we're seeing here at Suzuka. Through Kobayashi Corner they go. Is it actually called Kobayashi Corner officially, or is that just me?
That's
Am I the only one? Well, let's call it Kobayashi Corner. It should be. Love Kamui Kobayashi, one of my favorite F1 drivers of all time.
Oh yes, but now through Spoon, you start seeing here De Corps under pressure. De Jong, so much easier when he gets the power down, and to 130R, he's going to just angle his way to the inside. De Corps does not have much to fight with, and down the inside, De Jong gets it. You saw how De Corps moved out of the way, of course, of Ryan Race Team, the former team of Mitchell de Jong. No love lost between them, and now De Jong has got to get past a 5-time world champion, who he has hit on no less than 2 occasions so far this season, and that's Gregor Hutu, Johnny.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. This time around, it looks like Hutu is definitely not going to be winning this race if de Jong on a 2-stop's going to get past him at this stage. But Jensen and Hutu almost certainly 1 stop in this race, so is De Corps. It's still a long stint though. I mean, Jake, like 30 lap, if they pit now, a 30 lap second stint, I don't think that's good enough for a 2-stop, for a 1-stop. Very optimistic. The lap times say otherwise. Where's de Jong going to make his way past here? There's Jensen. He's so close to the fin up ahead. He's not going to make it into Degner 1 through the exit here. He's going to have so much traction, almost dangerous amounts of traction. But Hutu, ultra smooth on the throttle. Will de Jong fly up the inside? Hutu, slightly defensive there, Hutu. Just taking a little bit of a tight line, telling de Jong not to slot himself up the inside. This is where it's dangerous. You don't want to be making a move here. It could go all wrong for Mitchell de Jong, who's going for a championship. Backs up the throttle as well and lives for another day. There's Mitchell de Jong. He's playing with fire.
The longer he waits, though, the easier it gets for Kroenke to close down, who goes down to the inside of Davide De Corps and takes the position away. So here comes the draft, down to the inside of Gregor Hutu, and an elongated run, which Hutu backs out of through 130R and says, okay, Mitchell, we've had our fun. You're through now. But next up comes Martin Kroenke for Gregor Hutu, and I wonder, will there be a pit stop here from Jensen to release? No, I think Mitchell de Jong's going to have to do it on circuit, but crucially for Kroenke, Hutu dives down onto the lane, and Kroenke's got fresh air.
So you can hear Hutu now down to 2nd gear, 3rd gear. That's the quickest way to make your way through the pit lane without speeding. 60 km/h limit here. Search for his box. Hutu, remember, he's in a championship charge as well. Look at Jensen and de Jong there on screen. De Jong can't find his way past. It was a quick stop for Hutu, by the way, but in the meantime, the battle for the lead continues. I have to say, Jake, we're forgetting that Gregor Hutu is still mathematically in contention for this championship.
But he needs both de Jong and Kroenke to run into issues. It's not a formality at this stage that he will be able to do anything to influence things. Look at de Jong. Will he send one up the inside? No. He has to wait. And look at Kroenke now, right on the rear, as is Mac back. And great run off of the exit by Mitchell de Jong. He goes the long way around at 200R. Oh my goodness, Mitchell de Jong. That, we have seen some fantastic overtakes this year. We've seen Hutu's one on Kroenke. We've seen Mac Backham's on Rasmussen. I think that just eclipsed the lot.
Oh, that was insane. And just the bravery and the trust you have to have in Marcus Jensen not to lose the car on Pirelli rubber, as Kroenke also gets past the 130R. On Pirelli rubber, that's 24 laps old. So Jensen continuing. He'll have to pit now not to lose a position to Gregor Hutu. I think it's done. I think Hutu with the undercut, 2.5 seconds faster than Jensen, should make his way past. We'll keep an eye on this.
And Gregor Hutu, just for comparison, finds himself at Spoon Corner, and he is behind Ricardo Orozco and David Williams out on track. So a lot of time that he has lost, but he has a lot of time to gain that back. In comes Ilka Harpela then on his one stop at the end of lap number 24, as Marcus Jensen now hits his box, looks to get up, looks to get back down, and out and away. A very good stop, around 4 seconds, as he looks to try and get himself back onto track and up to racing speed. But look at that, there goes Gregor Hutu. Oh, it is just gone light years away. Is around the outside. Rogers desperately tries to make the move on the exit on his own teammate. The two burst boys going together, and for the moment at least, Jensen behind. Teammates for how much longer? Remember, McLaren shadow is firmly a thing for Jensen here, Johnny.
Yeah, that's true too. So we don't know how Jensen's going to fare in that competition, but here, riding on board with 18-year-old Josh Rogers, sailing around the outside. That's something you need to practice. You need to go into practice over the past week and try that outside line. See how much speed you can carry in there. And then the battle continued here through the S section before they formed up. And Rogers, with all that damage, setting a 32.5 last lap round, compared to the driver of Mitchell de Jong, who's on older rubber, 33.9. So Rogers with the damage, still quick. I thought his race would be over after that hit.
Now he's managed to get away with one there, and so Davide Corpse runs wide through the Casio triangle, and I think that's your cue, Davy. It is. He dives down onto pit road. The tyres shot after 25 laps worth of racing here at Suzuka, and he will look to try and make that final stop.
Oh,
that's the only I think that's the last drive to come down in and make a stop here, Johnny.
It looked like Davy sped through the pit lane on the entry. Now let's have a look how long this pit stop is. Let's have a listen.
Got to remember about that front wing. He will have to slow down and change that. That will take time. But look, he's holding. That's a penalty.
Yeah, you're right, Jake. That's what happened to Jamie Fluke as well earlier on. Davide Corpse, at least on entry, it looked like, at least from what I saw, it looked like he was going at least 15, 20 Ks above the limit. So huge brain lapse there for Davide Corpse, who, Jake, was having one of his career best races so far.
Yeah, he was, and well, that's going to hurt, but he knew he was always up against it in this event. So 15-second stop and hold, it just edges out and makes life a little bit more difficult right now as things go. But I just want to keep an eye on this little battle that we've got going on. Forecast scrap, David Williams, Kevin Ellis Jr., Yao Vaz and Stephen Michaels. They have charged the field. Michaels currently plus 10. Yao Vaz currently up 8 positions. Kevin Ellis Jr. up 5 of his own. Where's Michaels and Vaz come from on the 2-stop?
Yeah, they're looking good, aren't they? And Vaz, though, he's having a lot of technical issues this race, isn't he, Yao Vaz? So we don't know if he's could survive. There he is, just blinking on screen. So that's not good for Yao Vaz, who could find himself out of the event. But Stephen Michaels, nevertheless, he looks reliable. And that race clutch car up 10 positions so far, could find himself up further.
Certainly could, but you have to remember that 2-stop strategy that's coming into play, Johnny. He's got to be so careful about what he decides to do in the second half of this race.
Certainly does. Here we're riding on board with the driver behind of Kevin Ellis Jr., who, this is what happens when you don't qualify at Suzuka well, ladies and gentlemen. You find yourself in the mid-pack. Through the Dunlop curve, we'll just back off the throttle just slightly through the bump. Now full throttle again through the rest of the corner. Yao Vaz becoming a hindrance in front. That's almost a distraction for Kevin Ellis Jr. It's just, yeah, Vaz has been doing that all race too, Jake. Just had those technical issues.
Yeah, and that's not going to be helpful at all. Your top 10 then, or your top 8, we will get up on your screen for you. Mitchell de Jong leads this one, the gap 1.2 seconds over Martin Kroenke, the 2-time reigning champion. Mac Backens in 3rd with Peter Berryman in 4th. It's Higeland in 5th with Michaels in 6th. Yao Vaz 7th, Kevin Ellis Jr. is in 8th, David Williams 9th, and Ricardo Orozco rounds out the top 10. We're going to take you RaceSpotTV side by side. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with the second half of this event in just a moment's time.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing
race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
trying this contact though. And wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Lap 29 will come into the books and finish here at Suzuka. Mitchell de Jong holds a slender lead over the championship leader Martin Cronke as things stand, but this event has been anything but straightforward here, as now Ricardo Orozco, the battle for 10th position, comes under pressure from the 5-time champion, and that is a certain Gregor Hutu. Very, very close at the moment between these two. Hutu started today in 16th position on the grid. Ricardo Orozco from 18th, as now Orozco struggles with his older tyres. It's Jake Sperry and Jonathan Simon. And Johnny, it seems that Gregor is looking for a way through on the positive sim racing driver who has everything to prove against the 5-time champion.
Yeah, and here he is, certainly Gregor Hutu now. We talked about Orozco having a good season so far, but Hutu on fresher rubber here will just sail past for sure. Orozco pitted on lap 14 of the event. Hutu pitted much sooner, lap 23 of the event, so this rubber is 9 laps fresher, and Hutu just has to make a patient pass here. But here's the problem. You become too patient, Jake, and the rest of this Essa section here will become progressive, slow, frustrating, and of course for Gregor Hutu, he continues behind Orozco, losing more time.
And once you get bogged down, Johnny, and once you get frustrated, is that when the chances come for drivers behind, like Josh Rogers, to start maybe getting onto the rear and attacking someone like Hutu?
Yeah, well, actually, that's a good point you bring up. You shouldn't get frustrated in this situation if you're Hutu, because you're beating yourself, you're getting in your own head. What you should be doing is essentially saying, okay, I'm stuck behind him. Look at the bright side. This is a positive opportunity to save my tires. But Hutu, don't push too hard through the Essa section. Save your tires. You get stuck behind him anyway. Find a positive out of it, and then get past later on. Again, through Spoon Curve. So more action there, Jake, as we see Hutu now through Spoon. Just taking it easy on the throttle, not wearing out the tires, and this will be a good move.
Yes, it will be. I just saw Yalvaz have a big issue. Hutu side by side with Ricardo Orozco. Couldn't get it done. Get back in the tow there, son. And can't make the move yet. Can he dive it down to the triangle? You can see just trying to get as late as possible on the binders and pretty much leaves Orozco with nowhere to go. There's the move for Gregor Hutu. In comes Kevin Ellis Jr. for his second stop. Leaves him a 23-lap final stint. But Yalvaz, I saw coming out of Spoon, Johnny, I saw him get sideways, and he is lucky he still has a car.
Yeah, that's not good. So we know that's going to happen there. But Ellis Jr. pitting now 3 laps earlier than you really expected him to for that 2-stop. Ellis Jr. did make his first stop on lap 14, don't forget. So he was 3 laps earlier last time around. Now 3 laps earlier this time around. So he's going for a very long final stint on low fuel. Can he keep the tyres together for these next 22 laps?
He's got himself a bit of clean air. He's got a few seconds to pull Ilbrink and Ilka Harpala up in front, and crucially has got out ahead of Davide Korp. So for Kevin Ellis Jr., the Uber undercut is coming into full effect here, and he knows that he's just got to go out there and get the result. Here's Josh Rogers, though. He's the next man on the train trying to get past Ricardo Orozco. This one for 11th position on the road, and for Josh Rogers, he's a lucky man even to still be in this race after his incident at 130R.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how that car's stuck together. And he's also making a move here for race position, although he's outside the top 10. And this isn't a DRS zone here. And thank God it isn't, because the drivers have to manually switch off DRS, because 130R, you just release the throttle. It's not a braking zone. And just go through. It'll be full throttle in qualifying for sure. Rogers straight through. Roscoe's been very respectful for letting everybody through behind. Jensen, who... Jensen's lost out the most, hasn't he, between himself, Hutu, and Rogers, as well as Davide Korp too. After that penalty, Jensen actually, if you take Davide Korp out of the equation, has ended up worse as we see some pit stops.
Yeah, Vaz and Michaels both come in, both covering Kevin Ellis Jr., who makes his way through the Casio triangle and is already past the slow Paul Ilbrink just behind him. So Ellis Jr. trying to get himself some space, trying to get himself back up and through. Coming off of pit road, here comes one, here comes two. Ellis Jr. makes his way past Yao Vaz, but crucially Michaels stays ahead. So Steven Michaels, the American, on a great run as Ilbrink runs very wide at turn 1.
Yeah, Ilbrink needs to know. He just did the same thing there, but I think he just went in way too hard. Jeez, downshifted to 5th and 6th. Yeah, way too late, so he just carried too much speed. Back on the racetrack, nothing harmful there for Paul Ilbrink, who, unfortunately now, let's see how this race... let's see what happens now. Berryman's sort of off the pace. Higgelin's had a good race. The 2-stop window is coming now. Lap 34 is where you expect them all to come in. Let's see if more scrambling happens toward the end of this stint.
I'll tell you what is very, very telling is looking at Martin Cronke's times at the moment, because over the last 6 laps, he's gone from being just outside of 1 second to now 2.3 seconds back of Mitchell de Jong. Not only that here, Johnny, but he's now 1.0 something ahead of Mac Backham, and now it becomes, okay, Cronke could come under pressure from his own teammate, Mac Backham here.
Yeah, and Cronke, I don't know if he's had traffic, but you saw the reds there at the bottom right-hand side of the screen for Cronke compared to de Jong. Mac Backham, though, last lap out, a 10th quicker than the 2-time world champion Martin Cronke. This hasn't been a good race for Martin for his standards. It's still P2. It's still impressive, isn't it, Jake? But the better you are, the more impressive you are. P2 becomes almost a disappointment, especially when you're going for a championship with 3 rounds to go. And Mac Backham, we said he was the X Factor, didn't we? He could come into play here in these last 20 laps.
He certainly could. Ilka Harpala gets overtaken by Steven Michaels around the outside of turn number 1. This gives Kevin Ellis Jr. a little bit of issue here, because now Kevin Ellis Jr. knows, okay, I'm in the twisty sections with a car that is slower. Harpala's pace is good for the tyres that he's got. Don't get me wrong, but Harpala has got to keep out a guy who is on 2-lap-old tyres.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be hard. Look at the traction for Ellis Jr. coming out of this corner. Whoa, he runs deep. He may get away without an off-track there, but it's certainly not quick. And then tight line through the hairpin for Ellis Jr. Second gear through this corner. You'll upshift to 3rd. You look at him short shifting just to gain traction. You don't want to spin up the rear tyres too much, because then it'll be ultra difficult, as we said on the run down to Spoon here. Brake just there. You see where that tarmac was to the left-hand side. That's a good brake marker, a good brake reference point for these drivers. Ellis Jr. is still not close enough, though.
Not yet anyway, but going to try and use the draft to his advantage. Look at that close down in to about 1/10 of a second, and can he just rattle on the power? You can see he's all over the back of Harpala, positioned well for a late lunge, and lunge he does, but no room there. Great defense from Harpala there around the outside. Knew that it was always going to be daring, but look at the chance off the exit. DRS in full activation. There's not much you can do. Straight through will go Kevin Ellis Jr. as Dion Verges comes down in for his final stop of the day, as does Josh Rogers. Around the outside goes Kevin Ellis Jr., and that is another good position for the Scotsman.
Yeah, smart by Ellis Jr. You don't need to go for the inside line there when you've got so much of a speed advantage on the straight. Just go for the outside. You know you're going to have the line into turn 1. And a simple move, just had the line into turn 1 like we said. So well calculated by the Scot.
Peter Berryman has come down in and made his second stop. He now is behind Marcus Jensen and Gregor Hutu on circuit. So Berryman is going to have to start charging if he wants to get past the pair of them. And David Williams as well on track, who is starting just maybe to falter a little bit. But it is still status quo. Coanda 1, 2, 3 at the front of this field, as it has been for all 34 laps. Antoine Higeland, though, Johnny, dives down onto lane. He should come out behind Peter Berryman, but not by much.
Let's see. Certainly don't want to feed out into traffic for Anton Higeland. There are the drivers behind. That's Hutu across the front stretch here. Hutu's having a great race, by the way. Hutu looks good. We'll see where he ends up towards the end of the event on this. Well, we think it's a one-stop so far. Quick pit stop for Anton Higeland there. 4.1 seconds in and out of the box. Look at his pit entry to end time. 28.8 seconds. That is quick for Anton. And look at that. Fresh slate of clean air. Peter Berryman up ahead. Few seconds up the road. 6 seconds at least. Marcus behind 12 seconds. Good race so far for Anton Higeland. Looking good for a top 5 spot.
Looking good indeed. Gregor Hutu, though, has caught David Williams. This is the battle for 4th position out on track at the moment. Hutu trying to get past Williams, who hasn't been up at the big time end of the dance in a number of seasons. But look at that, 2 contrasting lines. Hutu trying to get the power down early, coming off of the exit, and now through 200 right, going to be buffeted by the dirty air. But look at that, stays within 1/10 of a second almost, as Hutu now waits for Spoon and tries to force a mistake out of Williams, who runs wide, dive down to the inside, contact, round goes David Williams, and Hutu says thank you very much, but arigato gozaimasu. David Williams will not be very happy.
I definitely won't be happy, but I think after Williams' mistake there, let's have a look at the replay. I just think he was unaware of where Hutu was. Williams did run wide at Spoon, wider than usual, and I don't think he calculated the advantage that Hutu would have on fresh rubber. I think that's something you need to come into play. Maybe Williams was correct. If you're on the same rubber, Hutu wouldn't expect him to be so close to you there, but I think Williams just turned in. Hutu's done everything right. Oh. Now at the exit of the pit lane, most importantly, look at the pit stops here. Coanda drivers in the pit lane. De Jong in the pits. Kroenke in the pits. Hutu slots out between Kroenke and Mac Backham here. He splits the Coanda drivers. More importantly for Martin, he ends out ahead, and that means Hutu will not be in front of these two towards the end of the event, as they all made their final stops.
No, that's very, very telling. So De Jong has made his stop and got himself away. Kroenke in second. Now Hutu in third position as David Williams comes down in and makes a stop. So now Mac Backham, fresh tyres, get past Gregor, and let's just remember at the back end of last season, in fact, let's just turn the clocks back 1 year ago. Backham and Hutu came together here at turn number 2. We know it's a more respectable Mac Backham. We know that it is a more controlled Mac Backham, but we have seen these two make contact before, and now look at Mac Backham trying to get aggressive here through Spoon.
Yeah, so Mac, who needs to get past urgently. He's stuck in third the whole race, hasn't he? Isn't he? Oh, should be able to get past the 130 yard. This is going to be telling. Hutu backs off. Hutu playing the safe game. He knows he's not in the fight with the Coanda trio, and stays behind Mac Backham. Hutu, who we're expecting not to enter the pit lane for the rest of this event. How long can he make this Pirelli rubber last? He pitted on lap 23.
How long indeed. He's got Marcus Jensen behind, who's on the same strategy, but Peter Berryman and Antoine Higeland will both try and get through, as will maybe Stephen Michaels, but I think he may just be one bridge too far. We've been seeing out on circuit David Williams. He's come down in and made his stop. He's now behind Ricardo Orozco. And it is worth noting as well, Jamie Fluke is now officially out of the event, Johnny.
Yeah, that's not good. He's had a terrible race, hasn't he? Jamie Fluke had that spin earlier on and ended up, oh man, I mean, just a race to forget, really. Jamie should be at least in P4 in this event. But again, you know, he's had promising pace. I guess that's what he has to focus on. But again, the tyre model and how these tyres just, he just wasn't really up for the challenge today. Just spun him out at the spoon curve.
He certainly did, and well, gap at the front now, 3.6 seconds in favour of Mitchell de Jong, over Martin Kroenke. So Mitchell de Jong now, it's just a case of he's built the gap. It's not a huge gap, so any mistake will still be punished here by Kroenke, but he's doing what Kroenke does. Build a small gap, and it will slowly grow and grow and grow as this race goes on. And for de Jong, a victory here is a vital stepping stone towards what could be a title if he has a good run here, a good run also at COTA too. Yeah,
like we said, Jake, COTA is de Jong's track, I reckon, in comparison to Martin Kroenke. It's been relatively 50-50 here, but if I had to pick a driver for this race, and what was my bet coming into this round, Jake? I said Mitchell de Jong will probably win this event, and it wasn't a bold move. It wasn't something to make the viewers entertaining. We don't do that stuff at RaceSpot. We tell it like it is. And for us, we thought that de Jong was the better option here to win this event, and so far, it's not done yet. We are talking with 15 laps to go, but he hasn't put a foot wrong all event. He's been phenomenal, Mitchell de Jong. So let's see if he can really piece up this final stint together and really put the final pieces to the puzzle and win this event.
We will see if he does. Davide Corps is under pressure right now from Joshua Rogers. This is the battle for 12th position out on track. Also, Peter Berryman has found the rear of Marcus Jensen. This one for 5th position. Let's keep an eye on this one for now, because Berryman is trying to get back up into 4th. He went more aggressive on his 2-stop strategy. Just needs to get past the 2 1-stoppers now in Jensen and Hutu. He will know Jensen's game very well, former teammate as of the start of this season.
Yeah, if we look on board with Peter Berryman here, closer and closer. Jensen, though, I mean, he's improved so much, like we said. I think his expectations have to increase, though, if he's to improve even further than he is. Through 130R for Berryman. Tyres look good on that Apex Racing UK car. He should be ahead of Marcus sometime soon. So when did he pit? He only pitted on lap 33, didn't he? Just a few laps ago. So it should be an easy candy from a baby move, like I like to coin it. And easy pass here for Peter Berryman.
Well, he's just stolen the candy, and he's just stolen a 5th position. So there for Peter Berryman. He makes his way through, and he gets himself then looking at Gregor Hutu in front as the next challenge in terms of what he wants to do next in this race. For the Corps, though, under pressure here from Rogers with the DRS, closing that down towards turn number 1, and down to the inside goes the Australian. Thank you very much. And there's a position there for a certain Mr. Rogers as he gets himself up to 12th, exactly where he started this event, Johnny.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. He was running a lot higher after that spin. Things just got worse for him. Good move for Josh Rogers. And he's... what would you expect out of the Burst Esport guys for the rest of the season? Yeah, I really think like Jensen at COTA last year qualified 2nd, didn't he, on the front row? I'm expecting a lot out of him come Spa and the final round.
I expect top 5s. I think that's what they've got to be aiming for, just consistent top 5 finishes. If it's one driver, that's great. If it's 2 drivers, it's exceptional. I think they have that capability to do that, Johnny, but don't you feel that Burst have maybe got their eyes on different things? We've been talking about how McLaren's Shadow project has been big for Marcus Jensen. He's thinking about becoming a McLaren Shadow driver. He's got to go through that tournament process. But he understands that much. That will leave Josh Rogers on his own, and then Burst needs to start hiring for this championship, because the last thing you can do with Josh Rogers, a talent of that caliber, is leave him on his own.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to just prepare for that. I mean, Shadow Project for Jensen, it's not done and dusted. He still has to, I mean, he's going to qualify through iRacing and then has to win it himself, doesn't he? That's how the competition works. So even then, that's going to be tough. We know Rudy Van Buren, who is a very well-renowned sim racer. won that competition from McLaren last year. So it's good to see McLaren running this stuff, giving these young guys opportunities. Good to see Jensen, I don't know if you have to be, I think you have to be 18 or over for McLaren Shadow. And Jensen turns 18 on the 10th of October. So just a week, was that a week and a half away? He's just going to qualify in time, I guess.
Only just, but it's the finer margins in life that you find, and that's something else about sim racing as well. You play the rules right to the T, and that's what Marcus Jensen is doing with his age.
Yeah, well, exactly. Not really the rules you expect to play to the T. I mean, you really expect the likes of pushing track limits or tires and everything we've seen today to the limits. You see David Williams here close behind David Corpse. It looks very quick, Williams. As we said, don't spin up the rears through this corner. The worst thing you can do right now at this stage of the race. The front right takes the biggest toll, at least in my opinion, especially when you tend to, the inexperienced drivers, especially those drivers new to sim racing, will lock up insane amounts in this car. Most of these drivers will be on low brake pressure as well. I'd always recommend being on high brake pressure. That's the fastest way to go around in a Formula One car, but it's almost impossible in this McLaren. You'll lock up at every corner. Williams straight past there. David Corpse. Oh, runs a bit wide, didn't he, at 130R, but keeps it together.
Well, that was very, very sketchy there for David Williams. He was pushing as De Corpse did lift off and save his energy recovery system earlier, ERS, than other drivers, or that driver Williams in front of him. So that was enough there for De Corpse to allow that position for Williams to go through. But Williams now up another position, probably has some pretty fresh tyres available to him. 32.8 that last time by. He was 0.4 of a second quicker than Josh Rogers. He's got himself 13 laps to go, and the gap's only 1.7 seconds, Johnny.
Yeah, it's very close between the two. That's and it's only going to get closer and closer, isn't it, in these closing stages? The battle's still progressing as well. There's Peter Berryman on screen, right behind the two. Oh, Rogers have gone off. Rogers made a mistake, so he's continued at least. He certainly made a mistake through the second Degner. And again, so what's happened to Josh Rogers? Look at the replay here, Jake, but I think he might have beached it on the curb. That's the best way to get it wrong through Degner 2, if anything.
Play a bit of Tony Hawk, why don't you? Gets caught on the curb, grinds it. Well, he gets caught on that wooden plank underneath, and that's enough to pull him under pressure. But let's go back to Gregor Houtu right now, because Berryman is within half a second right now of the number 66, five-time champion. Berryman, arguably having the season of his career so far, has got himself multiple podiums, has just been that inch away from perfection and a race victory on multiple occasions this season. I reckon a victory is possible next season for Peter Berryman if he continues in this form, and he just wants to prove it by getting past Gregor Houtu for 4th place.
Yeah, it looks like victory this season may be a bit too optimistic. It was possible though at some stages. Monza was possible. Who knows? Had the Imola as well, who knows? Had things not gone wrong at the incident at Monza with David Williams and Ascari. Let's see if we can get the number 69 on the top step of the podium, and hopefully do glory for himself, the team, and the number of that car as he now heads through Spoon. He just can't get past Gregor here. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
You have to remember that tyre differentiation is not as large as it was in the opening stint. It's not a 2-second difference, it is a 1-second difference, which means it's easier to be more defensive from Gregor Houtu and hold drivers behind through 130R and looking on the brakes. It's late, Peter Berryman, but he'll have to keep on waiting, looking to open it up for turn number 1. And again, you can see dirty air effect coming into play. If he wasn't able to do it this time, he's now got to try into turn number 1 in the draft. DRS down to the inside goes Berryman, and Gregor Houtu, nothing to argue for. There's a penny for your troubles, and now up into 4th goes Berryman.
See, I hate strategies like that where Houtu doesn't defend, but it's the best way to do it. You have to let him through, because Gregor Houtu has to be thinking bigger picture here. You know, Marcus Jensen behind, same strategy as Houtu. What about Anton Hegelin? Will he make his way past Gregor Houtu in these final few laps? So he has to think about the big picture here. Houtu needs the top 5 position, needs as many points as he can get. He's still in contention for the championship. You know, if things go his way, you never know. Remember 2007 Formula One? Lewis Hamilton could have won that championship in his rookie season, but the final 2 rounds just didn't go to his favor. And there's the driver there behind of Anton Hegelen through the hairpin, runs a very wide line. And the Frenchman has just a couple of seconds to get past Marcus Jensen.
Only a couple of seconds. Ilka Harpala is down on pit road for another stop, and that is surprising. He was one of the last men to make a stop, so it's a very, very, I'd say, unscheduled stop for Ilka Harpala. Couldn't make the one stop work, didn't like the tyres potentially, but Hegelen at the moment trying to stay with Marcus Jensen, trying to get past the Dane and up into that 6th position out on track. Hegelen, who had a very, very lightning start to the season, was fantastic around Interlagos, has certainly proven that he has pace, just hasn't unlocked that consistency to make that pace work. But here comes the opportunity to make a move, closing that gap down in DRS, full bore on ERS, defensive goes Jensen into turn number 1. Hegelen tries to pick a pocket down the inside. There may have been contact between the two of them as off goes Marcus Jensen. Oh my word, Marcus Jensen, I'm not sure there was even contact. I think maybe slightly, but Jensen almost bottled it, I thought.
That was very aggressive by Hegelen, and I love it. I mean, that was good. Didn't seem like there was contact, but you don't know. Jensen might have felt something different. It looked awfully close between the two. I think Hegelen, though, that has to be, regardless of it being clean or not, very optimistic and a great move by the young Frenchman. He just ultra confidence in that Apex Racing UK car. That's what a fresh set of rubber does for you as well.
I see damage on the front wing of Antoine Hegeland's car. I think there may have been contact between the two. He had a wonderful overtake over Antoine Hegeland at Indianapolis. Hegeland had a wonderful overtake over Harpala at Indianapolis. He can't really overtake himself, can he? But Antoine Hegeland proving again that he is not afraid to go for the big move, and that was as sensational as it comes. Yes, there was contact between the two. We can tell from the damage on the front, but my goodness me, Antoine, it takes bravery to try a move like that.
It certainly does. At this stage, though, looking at the big picture for Hegelen, he should pass Gregor Hutu before the end of the event. He's about 1.5 seconds quicker a lap than our 5-time world champion. So Hegelen will have a top 5 result, which has really been unexpected, Jake, for Anton Hegelen. I mean, this is a driver who has been topsy-turvy throughout his career. He's had great results, had some poor results. You know, his last top 5 result, he's only ever had one in his career. It was P3 last year at Road America.
And that's very, very crucial for Hegelen, getting back that consistency, getting back to a level. Gap between Kroenke and Backham has stabilised, though, with less than 10 laps to go. It's around 1.5 seconds. And I think Matt Backham knows at this stage here, Johnny. He looks at Martin Kroenke. He's in a title fight. Matt Backham effectively isn't at this stage because he's too far back in the points to really do anything about it. But he knows, okay, I don't fight my teammate in this situation. He's got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, I think you're right. Remember that I don't really think team orders are a big thing in sim racing. You don't really see it. It's anything, it's driver orders. And I think Matt Backham here will be making an unselfish sort of decision.
Sorry, I've just
saying he doesn't want to battle.
Sorry, I've just seen Paul Ilbrink just crash out of the event. This was at 130R, gets on the curve, snap, oversteer, hard into the tyres. Reminds you of that Toyota 2002 crash, I think it was. Oh my goodness, Ilbrink, that's a scary hit.
That's not good for the 36-year-old. He's out of the event with that. Veteran of the series, Paul Ilbrink. Let's have another look at it here. The car will snap, especially towards the end of the stint. If you get 130R wrong, you need to make sure that there's minimal steering inputs. And the car just seemed to snap away. He tried to save it, and you're just in no man's land in a situation like that. So as I said, you shouldn't be driving in a way where you need to save something like that. I'm not sure if the touch did anything. The touch with the curb on the inside did anything to help him turn that around, but it certainly ended his race anyway.
Certainly did. Battle going on for 16th position, the final racing position, shall we say, as Harpala easily around the outside of Balázs Remenik and up into 16th position. It's been an okay day by Remenik standards, has gained positions thanks to the retirement, but Harpala making his way through, doing what he needs to do there, gaining that one position, and this is what the final stages are. Can I find that one position? For example, Can Kevin Ellis Jr. find himself on the rear of Stephen Michaels? Can Antoine Higuelan get past Gregor Hutu? At the moment, it looks very, very likely in this battle for 5th position to the end of this event.
Looks good. Looks very close. Hapalo as well, extremely close to driver ahead of Reminiak. Oh no, so that part's already been done, excuse me. Some errors here on my part. But there's the battle between Berryman and Hutu. Hutu now, oh, he's going to struggle. Higuelan, excuse me. My timing screen's all over the place, Jake. Apologies. But Higuelan with DRS this time around. Up to about 325 kilometers an hour. ERS in full use, but it's not close enough to make a move. And as I said, look at the positives here, Jake. Oh, Higuelan almost loses the car there. I was about to say, don't be doing stuff like that. Save the tires. Be patient through the S's. You got 6 laps to make the move. That's enough time.
More than enough time, and Hutu knows it as he is running himself lap times which are 1:34.3s. It was a 33 flat Antoine Higuelan last time by 1.3 seconds quicker on that last lap as things continue. So for the moment at least, Higuelan knows he's got to try and get himself that opportunity. Thinking about the hairpin, no, going to back out of it and wait. Johnny, you feel 130R into the triangle, that's where Hutu's been done the most today. But of course that run to turn 1 has also been prime so far for those in the second half of the event.
Wherever you get it done, you get it done, I guess. Higuelan here, be patient. Turn in earlier than you think. Dirty air is not going to help at all through the exit of Spoon. Traction difficult through Spoon. No DRS to aid the overtake here. It's not going to be done in time. Don't go for it, Anton. He does anyway and sails past Gregor Hutu for P5. Brave move by the young Frenchman.
And we saw there Gregor Hutu saving ERS, thinking, okay, I think he's got me. I'm going to keep out of it. I'm going to keep out of it. Antoine says, okay, doors open. Might as well invite myself in. Take my hat off, take my coat off, put it on the hanger to the left-hand side. Thank you. I'll take that position number 5 from you, Mr. Hutu. And it's as easy as an overtake you will ever get on Gregor Hutu. And it's not that Gregor Hutu's a bad driver, Johnny. It's nothing about that at all. It's legitimately just down to the fact he does not have the tyre life to battle Higuelan.
No, if you ever associate Hutu and bad in the same sentence, you should be banned from sim racing. Not you, Jake, but anybody in general. He is that good of a driver. Hutu's just been that kind of race for him. Different strategy. He'll end up in P6 by the end of this. And it's a great damage limitation for Gregor, although he's had better results in the past. Remember a podium a few years ago? Yes, he was let through by Olli Pakala on the final lap, at the final turn. And again, that goes back to what we were talking about before, Jake. Driver orders, not team orders. Olli Pakala back in the day, I truly believe, some people don't believe him, but I 100% agree with him. That was all Olli Pakala's doing. The driver orders let Hutu through. Now, something's gone wrong for Gregor Hutu here. I've just noticed him. He's a lot slower on the run down to Spoon. I think he's got a fuel issue. So there's certainly something wrong for Gregor Hutu because there's no reason why you'd back off at the end of the straight unless you're saving brakes. And even then, brakes wouldn't be an issue at Suzuka.
Look at him, 306 kilometers an hour on the straight. Has he underfueled the car? A la Silverstone, which was the big passing of the torch, remember, between Kroenke and Hutu. Arguably the greatest finish to a World Championship race that we have seen in many a year. But Gregor Hutu, the fuel running into issues, 135.2 that last time by. He was a full, get this, 1.3 seconds slower than Marcus Jensen on that lap. Jensen could get past Hutu here, and for Hutu, this is arguably the biggest cardinal sin I think you could make as a driver. And not only that, he's probably done it twice now in his career with this MP430.
No, it's not good, isn't it? What was it at Silverstone, was it? Yeah. In 2016, so final lap. What you do as a driver, though, I mean, you should have, with 10 laps to go, you should multiply, let's say you use 2.2 liters per lap, 2.2 kilograms per lap. That means you need 22 kilograms with 10 laps to go. So you should be checking this constantly throughout the race. 44 kilograms with 20 laps to go, that kind of stuff, you know, and just tracking the fuel. So in case you need to save earlier than with 5 laps to go, because this might even be enough, you know, who knows if Gregor's going to make the checkered flag, because saving will only do so much. If he's 1 lap short, I mean, that's not enough at the moment in these final few laps. Remember Felipe Massa, I think it was 09, at Spain, at Catalonia, was going like 9 seconds a lap slower just to make the checkered flag, and he almost didn't.
Well, it's very, very telling, and that for Gregor is not going to be helping him at all, but he knows that he's got himself just 4 laps to go as he crosses the line. This race led by Mitchell de Jong from the drop of the green flag, and he's had to work hard for this one. It's never been plain sailing with a gap of 4.4 seconds. Gregor Hutu, the slowest car on track right now, worth saying that even maybe Stephen Michaels and Kevin Ellis Jr. could find themselves a way through soon, but Mitchell de Jong's had to do this one from the beginning and almost had his teammate take him out at turn 1.
Oh, yeah. That was close. So, well, end of the day, they're all still surviving here towards these closing laps. So I just want to know where Marcus Jensen is. For some reason, Marcus Jensen, what's helping Gregor here now? This is a gift in disguise, Jake. Jensen's tires aren't healthy. Gregor Hutu's saving fuel, and not only that, this car is easy to drive for Gregor towards the end of the race. So a slower car on a one-stop strategy may actually be a gift for Gregor Hutu in terms of saving fuel here. So he's only got a few laps to go to stay in front of Marcus Jensen. 34.1 for Jensen last time around. 34.5 for Hutu. That might be a little bit too quick, but then again, we don't know how much fuel he's got on board.
No, we don't. And of course, you've got to remember Michaels and Ellis Jr. are only 8 seconds off of Gregor Hutu, and they are a second a lap quicker. They probably won't get there, but if the fuel gets critical, and we're talking minus 100 levels of fuel, there's not much more that Gregor Hutu is going to be able to fight back with. 3 laps to go at Suzuka, and we wait and we watch nervously Team Redline's Gregor Hutu struggle with the fuel calculations, and this goes back to the lack of practice that Redline have had, that Hutu has had this week, and that comes back to the fuel as well. Jensen 0.8 of a second that last time by, brings the gap down to 1.1. Hutu's in trouble.
And credit to Harrison Finch on this, who's watching the race, mentioning that with all the damage Hutu sustained from Pascal Sturgis' incident at the Dunlop curve, which Hutu is approaching now, that could have caused some fuel issues for the Team Redline car. And look at the lap times there. Jensen 7/10 quicker last time round. He's certainly going to make his way past the Finn.
Sorry, that's Kevin Ellis Jr. who's had an off, and that's a huge off through the S's section there. Was trying to apply the pressure on Race Clutch's Stephen Michaels. Gets through the first part okay. Second part is good. It was the 4th part of the chicane, or the S's, that he gets wrong. Just a big wiggle out of the 3rd. Has to take to the kitty litter, and there is any chance of getting past Hutu et al. Gone for Kevin Ellis.
Yeah, that right-hander turn 6. It's unexpected that you see a driver go off there, but we've seen it in the past. There's an unexpected loss of traction for Ellis Jr. You know, I think you don't want to mistake these guys losing concentration. I don't think it's a lapse of concentration. He's in a battle there. He's in full concentration. Ellis Jr. almost loses it at the exit of the smooth curve. We saw in a different camera here, not on the one that's broadcasted, but Ellis Jr. Again, that's what happens, Jake. You have one moment like that, the tires are overheated. When these tires are overheated in this McLaren MP430, you need a couple of laps to cool them down before you get some confidence and before you start pushing again.
Certainly you do. 2 laps to go at Suzuka. Gap between Hutu and Jensen for 6th place is down to 7/10 of a second. Jensen has caught Gregor Hutu, and another position could go a-begging for the 5-time champion. So this is just a case of, okay, what can I escape Japan with and head over to Belgium for? Because at the moment it seems nothing at all at this rate if things continue like this, Johnny.
Yeah, it's I mean, on that note, it's been a cracking race, hasn't it? Well, let's see if Jensen can make his way past. Here they go through the hairpin. Hutu may have just played this to perfection here. Only 2 laps to go in this event. De Jong is all the way out the final corner. So De Jong's close to beginning the final lap, but we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll keep an eye on whether Jensen can get past. I think Hutu's good now. Hutu doesn't seem to be fuel saving as much as he was a few laps ago. He seems to be fine.
He seems to be fine. Also keep an eye on this one. Martin Kroenke versus Mac Backham. Gap is a second. I don't expect a move to happen between them, but a mistake for Kroenke on the last lap, and Mac Backham could sneak second position, but it is a long last lap for a certain Mr. Mitchell de Jong, who has been sensational. Eyes to Hutu, though, because Marcus Jensen is there, but not close enough towards turn number 1. He needs to find something again on the top speed charts. Hutu now starting to find that pace, trying to use a little bit more. He's not going at 306, now more like 320, so the fuel saving has stopped for Gregor Hutu. He could potentially be safe then on this last lap. But Mitchell de Jong's had to do it the hard way in this event. He's had to defend ruthlessly from the drop of the green flag. He put in a sensational qualifying time, which eclipsed Martin Kroenke's. And as he heads out of the Spoon corner, he knows that this championship is not over. There are 2 rounds to go, one of which will be in 1 week's time at Spa-Francorchamps before the finale at Kota. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. This championship is far from complete, because through the Casio Triangle goes Mitchell de Jong and stamps down a marker. Martin Kroenke, I'm coming for your championship. De Jong wins at Suzuka. It will be second for Kroenke, third for Mac Backham. Berryman will finish in 4th. We keep an eye on Gregor Hutu in 6th position, as Higeland will finish in 5th. The fuel looks safe for Gregor Hutu. It's a short run to the start-finish line, and it's downhill too. On the brakes, a big lift and close. But Johnny, Gregor Hutu is safe in 6th position. Oh, he gave us all a scare.
Yeah, it was close. We had to wait till the final corner. You never know if Hutu just had that extra 0.1 of a litre left in the car, but he makes it through, and Gregor Hutu end up with a 6th position. His championship challenges are essentially almost over. Look at the battle for P16 though right now. Ilka Harpala and David Corpse close between these two. The P16 may have... And we'll see what happens here towards the end of the race with the 2 Orion teammates. What could have been for De Corpse and Harpala had they not had damage in this event. They'll cross the line here in 15th and 16th. Good event so far. But Mitchell de Jong, Jake, we have to say, back into a real hard-fought charge for this championship. 2 rounds to go. It could go either way at Spa, either way at the Circuit of the Americas. We travel to Spa next week. Another back-to-back race. We've gone 3 back-to-backs in a row. 1 week of practice. Boy, this is going to be telling. And don't forget, Mitchell de Jong, he also has a challenge for him in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship. He's going to have to spend an insane amount of time on the simulator, because that's going to be on Friday this week, or Thursday. I should say Friday in Australia. And then a few days later, he's got the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series going for a championship.
Busy, busy boy, fighting for 2 titles, but official classified results. Let's get them up on your screen. Mitchell de Jong takes a big step towards fighting for the title. He wins here at Suzuka. The gap in the end, 4.2 seconds over Martin Kroenke, with Mac Backham making a Coanda lock in 3rd position. Peter Berryman finishes 4th ahead of Antoine Higeland in 5th. Gregor Hutu worries with the fuel, and the 66 moves from 16th to 6th. You got a lucky number there, Gregor. Marcus Jensen finishes 7th with Stephen Michaels. A great result from him, up 9 positions into 8th, with Kevin Ellis Jr. finishing 9th, and David Williams, after contact with Hutu, finishing in 10th. Galvaz had technical issues throughout today. He finished 11th, with Josh Rogers having a scary accident at 130R. He limps it home in 12th place. Ricardo Roscoe 13th, Jon Verges 14th. Then you see the likes of De Corpse, Harpler and Remenick. Vehicles that failed to make it to the line: Ilbrink, Fluke, Jurges, Erskard and Partington. We've got interviews coming up, though, in just 1 moment's time. We're going to step aside here on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be back with the post-race show after this.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press. What a save.
Look to the outside as Kroenke goes off. De Jong into 2nd place.
going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
He's trying, there's contact though.
Wide left of the racetrack. Chris Venner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
How about the Sunrise Land proving again what classic races are all about? It was a tough race from everybody concerned. It had everything from the drop of the green flag heading over to the end, but it was one big victory for Mitchell de Jong, who stands by with us right now on the iRacing Esports Network. Mitchell, it's a busy week coming up for you. You've got Spa-Francorchamps coming up. You've also got that big challenge in the iRacing Rallycross series, but to stamp your marker here at Suzuka, to pull the challenge to Martin Kroenke and say, okay, we're in a championship. I'm here to win races. Your third win of the season. How does it feel?
Oh, thanks, Jake. No, it feels super good. I was hoping to get at least one towards the end of the season, and I really like this time when we have a few races back-to-back. It lets you have a good kind of build-up for each race, and I think that helps me a lot. Just staying used to the car and making small improvements. So, yeah, really happy with the result here. The quali was really good as well. Just super happy with everything. No issues at all.
No issues at all in qualifying, but let's talk about turn number one, shall we? Because it got very, very close to an Alain Prost-Ayrton Senna form of accident at the opening corner. Were you aware of how close you were to forcing Martin Kroenke onto the grass, if not having two tyres on it?
To be honest, I didn't really know until after. I was just looking at it and saw that he even had two wheels on the grass. So, you know, I didn't seem like he was going to even be close enough to even need to fight there or anything like that. Even just getting a front wing on the inside there. So I just moved over to be safe, and then noticing he was still going for it. So, yeah, it was closer than I wanted, and knowing how close it was now, I definitely would have been a bit more careful, because, you know, even though we're in a really good position between the two of us to be able to race each other hard for the championship, still one thing like that can cause a lot. So glad it worked out.
9 points now, the gap in the championship. You head to Spa-Francorchamps in 1 week's time. A very, very telling event. It's the quote-unquote Martin Kroenke track, as it were. Is it damage limitation at Spa-Francorchamps, or are you going to find something maybe this week in the setup that is just going to be up your sleeve?
Who knows? I really like Spa a lot. It's one of my favorites. I think typically in the past with this car here, it's always, you know, I'm kind of struggling to just a couple days before get used to the car and such from getting back from real races and stuff. So we'll see. It's nice, like you said earlier, about the, you know, having a few races to build up to the event. So I'm looking forward to it. Spa's a really fun track to drive, so hopefully that's a good combo.
Hopefully it is a fantastic combo indeed. So before we let you go, Mitchell, any shout-outs, any sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank for your race victory here this afternoon?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, all of our teammates for putting in a lot of effort for this. I think we were a bit unsure how we were lacking so much speed at Nürburgring, but really happy with all the guys for really figuring the car out for this race and doing a great job. Of course, all our spotters, Jorn and Philip, for doing pretty much all the work for that, keeping us on the right strategy. And of course, all our partners, Virtual Racing School, Huizingfeld, SimQuip, VTech, and Wern Design, Dual Real Timing, and of course you guys, RaceSpot, for yeah,
Yeah, no worries at all. Mitchell de Jong then, a big, big step forward, a race victory here this afternoon. Johnny, you found yourself the man who finished in 3rd position here today, and that is Mac Backham.
Yeah, Mac Backham, who, well, let's drag him in first. Mac Backham, who came home in the 3rd position here with a podium. Mac, it seemed like a pretty uneventful race for you, but you might almost be out of breath.
Yeah, I definitely am. I think this is the this is the hardest I've ever driven in this series, and I'm really dead. Just
talk about the race from your perspective, because we thought, oh, you could be the X factor and maybe undercut your teammates or try something different in terms of strategy. But in the end, it's just, I don't know if you didn't want to interrupt the championship battle, but it certainly showed that you can keep up with the 2 championship challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it my all today, and I practiced so much, but the 2 guys in front of me are just insane. And I really would have liked to finish higher up, of course, and we kind of wanted to go for a 1-stop. And so but then we kind of switched to the 2-stop, and from there everyone was just on equal pace, all of us when we're in clean air pretty much, and maybe some deviation every now and then, but really, there was not much you could do anyway on this track. So I think a pass would have been impossible with the dirty air, unless I was suddenly so much faster, but that's not happening. So but I'm really happy to finish 3rd, and I'm really happy with my performance this race. I'm really satisfied with the way I drove. So I can definitely end this race on a happy note.
And conditions during testing, a lot of people expecting there to be 40-degree track temp, and then some people hoping for cooler overcast conditions. It was in the middle of both of them, and these seem to be perfect conditions for a driver like you.
I don't know. I kind of hate these conditions. Because as I said, we were kind of going for the 1-stop on this, and then we saw everyone behind was going for a 2-stop, so we kind of figured we have nothing to lose by 2-stopping as well. We just cover everyone. That should be fine. So it was not that bad to drive, considering we always had fresh tires. But I'm not a fan of cold conditions. The car just feels really insane, kind of like you're driving the FW31 with some extra speed on the straight again.
And anyone to thank before you go as well?
Yeah, of course, I want to thank the team and the spotters today, and everyone who helped this week with preparation. It was really good. I think this is one of the races where we were best prepared for in terms of the total team, and of course our sponsors. So that's Virtual Racing School, Huizingenveld Engineering, SimQuip, JRT, VTech, and you guys for the broadcast.
Perfect. There you go. Mac Backham, who came home in 3rd, Jake. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Martin Kroenke will be joining us in 2nd. But who knows what he's going through emotionally, whether or not he's back to the drawing board for the next round at Spa. And that is a big round for the likes of Martin Kroenke. And not only him, but all these Coanda drivers we just spoke to. It's a Coanda track at Spa. These guys are going to go very strong over there.
Watch Pash Jurgis. That's all I'm going to say. I think he's got a really great chance of throwing himself up in there. But Peter Berryman now joining us from Apex Racing UK. He finished today in 4th position. Peter, aggressive Apex went on the 2-stop strategy. Really the first team to show their hand today. Was that always the inclination from team strategy with Alex Simpson and co?
Yeah, the 2-stop was always the plan. I think most cars would have 2-stopped today. I'm not really too sure what the guys behind did, but obviously the 3 ahead of me 2-stopped as well. So I think it was clear that the 2-stop was the way to go. It was just 2 laps longer, 2 laps shorter. Didn't really make too much of a difference, but yeah, Coandas were just too strong again today. So congrats to those guys.
Well, you find yourself 5th in the championship. You've put together a very good run of consistent top 5 finishes this year. It's seemingly been, though, that the podiums have been a little more elusive, a little bit more tougher to find this year, and even tougher the race victories. Do you feel like you are putting the building blocks together for a really strong challenge for next year, along with the Apex boys like Antoine?
I'll be honest, it felt like we were making big inroads towards Coanda, and I mean, if you had told me at the start of the year, I thought we would have been nowhere near. So to get that close during the middle of the season, I thought things would be good for next year, but it seems Coanda have found another gear, and I think it's back to square one again. So in terms of race wins and stuff, it's just too far at the minute. Need to go back to the drawing board and try and figure something out, but yeah, I'm just looking to score top 5s, maybe challenge podiums for the rest of the year and try and close out 5th place in the championship.
Spa-Francorchamps then as a challenge, of course, a very balanced track, well on high speeds, has nice slow-flowing sections in the middle of the track. Do you feel like Spa's a track that suits you?
I have no idea. I haven't driven there in a while. Nice circuit to drive. I think I'll be relying on my teammates for a lot of the work for Spa because I'll be missing almost near enough the whole week. So very limited prep for me there. So give it our best shot and we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's a challenge. Before we let you go, Mr. Berryman, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yep, thanks to all the boys in Apex and our sponsors, SDK Gaming, JCL Sim Racing, Leo Bodner and Simputers PC Systems. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast again.
No worries at all. Peter Berryman then coming home in 4th position. But Johnny, final thoughts after what has been a very, very telling and very interesting race here at Suzuka.
Oh boy, I mean, if this isn't one of the best races of the season, I know Monza was pretty dramatic anyway, but this was insane here today. So just a delightful event. Good to see Mitchell de Jong back on victory lane as well. So Martin's been pipped yet again. I mean, 2 rounds in a row for Martin Kroenke. So I think at a track like Spa, where Martin really is the king of this series at Spa, he'll certainly be trying to return to victory lane there. But this championship now, 9 points between the two. It could not get any closer. The concern I have, though, is just, Mitchell's got to practice for his Rallycross championship this week, and he's got to get WCS sorted as well later on. Oh, boy, is that going to be a challenge. So this is something that you just need to really have a lot of support in your hands. Eat healthy, sleep. Don't go binge drinking or everything. Something that Jonathan Simon would be doing myself if he was a racer. Just do all the right things and you should be fine.
No problems at all. But that's going to be it then here on the iRacing Esports Network, but not it in terms of what we have coming up. McLaren Shadow Project GT3 style is still going to be in full swing. Make sure that you check that out, as well as the Sports Car Open. 8 hours of... I think it's 8 hours of Silverstone. I need to actually double check that one up. But it is 8 hours of Spa, because my mind is absolutely jumbled at this stage. But 8 hours of Spa, make sure you check that one out. That's going to be sensational to watch. But we've got to give our thanks out to And Wern Designs, the official graphics partners at RaceSpotTV, along with ATVO and Atgeneer for the official graphics engine. Live timing and scoring was brought to you by Nick Disson, as well as animations by Simon Grossman and track cams by Istvan Ballo and his Track Cams 22. Make sure that you check them out. But for the time being, that's Jonathan Simon. That's Hugo Luis with the cameras. I'm Jake Sparing. And what an event we have managed to see here. It was a tough and hard-fought battle, but de Jong is top of the mountain once again. Kroenke is without a win in the last 2 races, and that was impossible to think 12 months ago. But it's time to head to Spa. It's time to think about the championship. 2 rounds to go. De Jong versus Kroenke. Sayonara.